Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're presented by Centris Federal Credit Union, and it is Super Bowl. Oh, Friday, I guess. It's not Sunday. What's up, DB?
Hi.
You just kind of in your own world over there?
It's vibing.
Just kind of You used to bebop and booberry?
Yep. I was just, doing my thing. My guy sent me a song yesterday. I don't know why. It's just weird, right? Because we kind of have this connection. He sent me this deal. I was out on the field working with, anyway, he sent me this deal, and it's just one of those songs that he doesn't know how much I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just sending it to me because, and it was it chilled the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sent me a different version sung by another guy. It's Good Father.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about this song. He has no idea, but I've talked about this song in my former life on the before.
Mm-hmm.
And I like a version that was done live in concert by Casting Crowns.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me the one by Chris Tomlin, but it was so it kind of set the whole day. It tempered my it made a lot of things that I had to digest during the rest of the course of the day a lot more palpable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, watched a lot of turnovers in high school basketball. I watched all of a sudden Ohio State act like they had a pulse in half court offense.
Yeah.
I watched a putback dunk by the Dons that should make SportsCenter.
Mm-hmm.
I did not watch SportsCenter this morning.
Omaha made SportsCenter this morning.
Yeah, well, I was all in on Omaha last night.
Yeah.
I was playing replay after replay. That game. So, by the way, good on Brian Edwards too. Go back and check the gosh darn scores in the Summit last night.
Yeah.
Folks were scoring.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
And he beat the closing. He beat the closing number. He had what it was in the morning, 162.5.
Yeah.
It closed at 164.
They still got him.
Denver, South Dakota scored 165. Denver will be kicking themselves over that one, but got off to the good start, and South Dakota did South Dakota things. South Dakota sports programs quietly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And they have paper.
I don't even know if it's that quiet, but
they have paper.
Yeah.
They did a good job. They did a good job with their money situation.
Well, South Dakota State also got a big win last night.
Yes, they did.
102-86.
I thought you were talking about IGC going there.
No.
Oh, that's a good get for them.
Yeah, that's a good get for them. That's a good. Probably a good spot for him too.
Yeah.
That's a win-win for everybody there.
He is on the hunt for a couple of more DBs.
You know what the over/under was in that St. Thomas South Dakota State game?
68?
No.
168?
No. We're way over. They had this thing low.
40s?
152 and a half.
Ah, geez, that thing sailed.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when South Dakota State drops 60 and a half.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, what they have? They had that with like 10 minutes left, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I say minimum. And I listened to a lot of folks debate back and forth over the Hall of Fame, which is still a little bit of a head scratcher for me.
Why people debate it or who made it?
I'm kind of in the who made it thing.
Okay.
And Shane, we got to get Jarrett Bell, who is according to my friend, Mr. Seviere, apostrophe New Orleans Saint L, is dab smack in the middle. And Bell has been covering this thing for like 30 years. I got to figure out what Torrey Holt did.
Oh.
Torrey Holt should be in the NFL.
In the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know.
I want you, when you get some time later on today or tomorrow I'm sure you'll go to like V Mertz and some other bougie places this weekend to
I don't have any plans.
Spend $100 on lunch like you casually dropped yesterday. You need to go back and look at Torrey Holt's numbers. and pit them in the 2000, where he ranks among receivers in the 2000s.
Oh yeah.
And who's in ahead of him? I don't know what Torrey Holt did.
Is Isaac Bruce in?
Yes, Ike's in.
He's better than Isaac Bruce.
100%.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. He's better than Isaac Bruce.
Wait, is Ike?
I thought he was in.
I thought Ike went in.
I did too. That's why I used him, both and teammates.
I better double check that.
I'm checking.
I better double. At first blush, I thought Ike was in.
I did too.
What is
he? Is. He's all.
I think he is.
Yeah, 4-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
1-time Super Bowl champ.
He was better than Ike.
Yeah,
I mean, no disrespect to Memphis.
No, Isaac Bruce is great, but
wait, I think he played at Memphis. You thought I was talking about Memphis Bleak?
No, he played at Memphis.
You have no idea who Memphis Bleak is.
No, not even a little bit.
That's okay. That might be a little too urban.
I thought you were talking about John Morant.
No, by the way, nice bounce back for the Grizzlies this year.
Well, yeah, I mean they're
apparently being healthy matters.
Yeah, they have their best players actually playing, so that's helpful.
Yeah,
it's useful, I would say.
Can't say that about everybody. I couldn't find many press clips last night of your boy.
Who?
Mr. Missoula, who I know you have an affinity for.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, he's nuts.
He's out of his mind, and for no reason.
Hey, did you hear a couple of days ago when the trades first went down? So this was Monday and Tuesday, and the first thing he said when he sat down was, "Don't ask me about the trades. I don't care."
Yeah.
I was like, "Why is he so mad?" And I showed you the one where he was very impressed with the reporter that asked him about effort on defense versus making 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was talking about the way we use the word slump. Like they're in a shooting slump. It's like we never talk about being in a defensive slump. Or whatever, a hustle slump, whatever.
And they proceeded to get their brains beat in last night.
Yeah.
By the Mavs. Anthony Davis-less Mavs.
I'll say they don't have.
And you be careful with the jokes too, because you got beat by a JV squad last night too.
Well, I mean, I'm not making any jokes. I don't have anything good to say about the Warriors.
I mean, who are some of those guys for the Lakers?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think you are either. I do know
big Dorian Finney-Smith guy though.
I do know that Gui Santos was playing a lot for the Warriors, and that wasn't really
not to be confused with Guido.
No.
Hey, what's the name of the cantina, Shane? Or is it just the cantina?
It's the cantina.
Is that where that's where Guido used to hang out?
That's where Guido got shot.
Yep, by Han Solo.
Hey, so give me some love on knowing that.
Yeah, look at you.
Give some love.
I thought you were talking about like Jersey Shore.
Never really sat through one episode of that show.
They use the term Guido a lot there too.
Yeah, isn't that a pejorative for Italian?
Yeah, that's why I was trying not to call them that, but it was.
And I'm not Italian, so I don't feel comfortable.
That's a term that was used a lot in the show. Is all I was saying. They called themselves that often.
Yeah, yesterday was interesting for me with news, because I know you make fun of me, but I love politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went down the Mace rabbit hole.
Okay.
She is the representative in South Carolina that had kind of the outburst on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to now? This is Republican Congresswoman with very, very strong beliefs. Clearly, right? Would you like to guess who she spent almost 15 years married to?
Who?
I mean, just what little you may know about her. Like, who would you think Miss Mace would have been married to?
I mean, I could go either one of two ways here. Either somebody that has very similar ideology to her, or the irony, which somebody who has almost exact opposite ideology from her.
Now, although his ideology is probably closer than we think.
Yeah.
You would not get this.
Go ahead.
50 Cent.
Oh.
Curtis Jackson.
They spent 15 years together?
I think 4 to 19, maybe.
Jeez. Didn't he date Chelsea Handler in there, too?
Man, 50's wild.
I
like him, though.
Gotta keep things pushing.
I like him.
You big 50 guy?
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been canceled yet. That's cool. You're good.
It's flickering.
I think we're beyond canceling now.
Well, I don't know. Like, Diddy got canceled pretty quick.
Yeah, and apparently Kanye's not happy.
I mean,
my man T-Mac said, "I want to go back to high school dropout ye, not
Yeah.
2025.
We were having this conversation.
Was that Man U too?
We were having a conversation the other day where I was like, I used to love Kanye. I was like, and then like,
Oh, this was on the heels of his red carpet stunt.
And I was like, I kind of stopped messing around with him around 808s and heartbreaks. That's kind of where I draw the line. Start getting a little strange.
Questioning the old moral turpitude.
Moral turpitude, mental faculties. You pick.
Crazy like a fox. Listen, I'm sticking to it.
Listen, Crazy Like a Fox and Crazy look a lot alike sometimes.
No.
Did
you see that red carpet stunt cost him the $22 million concert overseas?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if it was Japan or China. Where he was scheduled to perform.
Yeah, they weren't riding with the nudity on the red carpet.
Nope.
That makes sense. Some of those places are pretty buttoned up.
Yeah, he's
out.
That was a $22 million decision for what? 5,000 clicks of a camera. Well, whoever knows how many he did on social media.
You're sticking with Crazy Like a Fox then?
I don't know if he knew. I don't know if he knew the fallout.
Yeah, that's part of being crazy like a fox, though, is like understanding the fallout of your erratic decisions, or of your seemingly erratic decisions.
Just it's gotten him some more airtime on social media.
Oh, congratulations! I'll take
selfish.
I'll take the $22 million check.
I wonder what he whispered to her before she pulled the stunt. Was he probably like, "Hey, you ready? Let's shock the world. I'm gonna need you to do this now. You good? You sure? You're not gonna back out? You ready? You ready? Ready? 3, 2, 1."
Yeah, he didn't talk to her for that long, DB.
Hey, listen. You never know when you can mumble talk.
Yeah.
Why you feel? What you say? You ready? You ready? Okay.
That's actually really good radio.
Yeah, I see. People driving what?
No, I don't think. I think he was just like, "Hey, do it now."
Yeah, I don't know. So there's a $22 million business decision.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
Yeah, cancel both concerts.
That's not great.
They're like, yeah, you stay here.
Yeah, we're good over here. You keep all that nonsense over there.
You know who needs to hire him though?
Who?
Publicist. Torrey Holt.
So that he can be kept out of more places, or
would you have gone with on this go round of the Hall of Fame? Would you have gone with Holt, Kuechly, or Eli Manning?
Holt.
Over Eli?
Yeah. I'm not like an Eli apologist. I'm
gonna need you to.
He's pretty mediocre.
Get your act together.
He's I don't know if I want to say that. He's a modern day Terry Bradshaw.
I'm sorry?
He's a modern day Terry Bradshaw. Accolades are wildly overrated because he won some key situations.
Like 4?
Yeah, except for he's like not as good as the Terry Bradshaw one.
Oh. Somebody 2 days ago, was it Nick Wright? It was one of those loudmouths. Called Jalen Hurts a potential poor man's Terry Bradshaw. I'm like, okay. Well, clutch, a winner. I'm like, he needs a lot more hardware.
Yeah.
But I get why he thought the thing about Bradshaw. Because Bradshaw was kind of like a big gamer.
Sure.
More than he was a consistent guy. Because I wouldn't fight you over Bradshaw making
Bradshaw's a little overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. My issue, and that's kind of where I feel like Eli Manning. Eli Manning obviously had a couple incredible runs.
Yeah.
He was dealing in those Super Bowls.
You're just not going to the apologist thing, huh?
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here. Like, if you leave, I don't care if you leave him out of the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he was trash or whatever. But if you leave him out of the Hall of Fame, I don't have a problem with that just because he won 2 Super Bowls, right?
At first blush, it seems like you'd be setting precedent, though, because I don't know any other multiple.
Plunkett.
Is he the only one?
Yep.
And he was 80 and 84, Shane? 81 and 84?
81 and 84?
Eagles and Redskins, yes.
But just the one win, though.
No, they had 2 Super Bowls.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did. Wow, Philly tricked that off. That was just on, literally, last weekend.
The replay of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that they were that bad running the football in that Super Bowl.
But yeah, Plunkett. So there's precedent already.
Yeah, but better than Plunkett.
I'm just not going to sit here.
But not, yeah. I wouldn't. I'm not going to die on that hill.
Like, I don't. If you put him in, I don't really care. If you don't put him in, I'm not going to be upset about it. Like, Torrey Holt deserves to be in. I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and be like, oh, Eli Manning. Like, I really don't.
TK heard it. It was Nick Wright. Yeah, okay.
Like, I really don't have a problem with Eli Manning being left in or left out or put in, because I get the precedent of, hey, you win multiple Supers as a starting quarterback, you pretty much get in. Cool.
Did you see a lot of the outrage? Like, there were a lot of football guys, Baxter, Doctor. There were a lot of guys that were pissed that they only took 4 spots.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw there were people upset about it being a small class and whatever, especially considering some of the people that were eligible. I don't have a problem with, I don't know, like, Kuechly's tough for me. I get that he was great. But
all I'm saying is,
yeah,
you let one of the most marginal linebackers get in early, you set the bar.
Yeah.
And who would I be talking about?
Who?
Brian Urlacher.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're not an Urlacher guy at all.
Man, I watch television.
I'm just saying, like, I do think it matters sort of the magnitude your career has on the game.
I don't know if diehard Bears fans are all in on Lack being
I don't
an
know.
HOFer.
Evan, if you're listening, ask your wife how she feels about Brian Urlacher.
We could talk to Verz.
Oh, yeah. Ver's a big Bears fan. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big Chicago guy in general.
Yes, he is.
But I'm just saying, like, I feel like your career needs to matter in some way to the NFL.
Shoot.
What?
Kuechly was incredible.
He was. But could you tell the story of that era of the NFL without talking about him?
Sure, but I don't agree with that narrative.
It's a thing I think matters.
Well, I won't say there's lots, but how do you?
No, there are.
How do you go the other way and not tell the story of the 2000s or the Patriots without bringing up Eli Manning?
And that's fair. If you want to use that as the argument to put him in, I'm cool.
The other way.
No, I get it. Yeah. If you want to say, hey,
the tell the story thing is very, very shaky.
It's super subjective,
it, but it cuts 2 ways.
It's super subjective. Yeah. And if you want to use that to put Eli Manning in, I don't have a problem. Like, I'm cool. But I do think sometimes we put these guys in, it's like, oh man, they had this. And I also feel like the short career matters a little bit. I know, like, that matters for a guy like Luke Kuechly. It's a short career and didn't have a huge impact on the game overall. So incredible linebacker.
There's a handful of guys like that.
Oh, for sure.
I think injury. I mean, because you're talking, especially right around the same time. Well, kind of, is Andrew Luck and Luke Kuechly.
Well, and you've got another one, a guy that I actually really like a lot. But if you were like, Ravi, what about your guy Patrick Willis? I'd be like, yeah, that's fair.
God, he was so good.
He was, but short career, retired early, and probably didn't have a huge impact on the game. He didn't really change the way the game was played. The 49ers were mostly mediocre.
Luke Kuechly was incredible.
I understand that.
I don't know if you do.
I mean, probably not to the extent that you do.
He was... I don't know. Big Luke Kuechly guy.
That's totally fine. If you want to have this conversation about Hall of Famers and things like that, it has to be more than, like, yeah, his peak as a linebacker was incredible. He was really, really good. But it's short.
I mean, you talk about him like he was Dan Morgan or something.
No, I'm talking about him like he's a guy who had a short, largely unimpactful career in the league. And I mean unimpactful in terms of the league as a whole, not on what he did any given Sunday for his team, but he doesn't really move the needle in terms of historical for his era. He's an incredible football player. And if that's what the Hall of Fame is, that's fine. But the word fame in there kind of, like, it's not the Hall of Excellence. It's the Hall of Fame. If you want to go Hall of Excellence, cool. Put Luke Kuechly in. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're going Hall of Fame, that's why Eli Manning is in.
Wow.
Or Eli Manning should be in.
Totally choosing when to get into the semantics. I think you kind of have to look at
Well, I'm open to hearing semantics.
The historical relevance of who's already in, and who would you put that argument against?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've got historical issues too.
I mean, lots and lots and lots of guys wouldn't.
Can I make this argument for you though? All the time.
You're capable of doing whatever you want to.
How many times you tell me, like, just because things have gone a certain way, that doesn't mean we can't ask people to be better now.
Yeah, the 100%.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking for them to be better now.
Yeah, but I think I would actually think I would cut the other way. I would say, hey, because he wasn't in the limelight or played for a at that time a winning franchise, you can still recognize his excellence. I would argue it the other way.
And I would argue it that, like, it's not about limelight or winning franchise.
He wasn't Dick Butkus, but Butkus played on a ton of bad teams, led the leagues in tackling. I mean, he's got some gaudy stats. Didn't do it. He was done playing by the time he was 31. Like, but he doesn't meet the metric of can you tell the story without, right? So that one's different. But the span and impact thing, I think is relevant to. It's weird because people won't understand the context of what I'm saying. It's not a direct player impact comparison in terms of recognition of Butkus to Kuechly, but impact on his defensive team, given their win-loss record, is very, very, very similar.
Yeah, you can make the argument.
I don't even know if Butkus played on a team with a winning record.
You can make the argument that Kuechly's value to his.
I should probably double check that before I spew a bunch of.
Yeah, just hating on Dick Butkus out here. You're gonna have some Bears fans all up in arms.
Well, that depends. Are they hearing or are they listening? Because I'm not discrediting Dick Butkus. I'm giving you some criteria.
No, absolutely. If somebody wants to come to me and say, like, hey, like, we probably need to look at Dick Butkus in terms of what he actually did. Listen, I'll listen to it. I don't think they're right because of the narrative part.
Can you tell the story? Can you tell the NFL story without talking about Gale Sayers? That 3.5 year window?
Yeah, historically, I don't know.
Okay,
like that's out of my.
I think you have to be careful.
That's out of my wheelhouse. Like, I don't know that era of the NFL well enough to know if you could or not. If you tell me yes, then I'll believe you. If you tell me no, I'll believe you. Like, I'm going to defer to you on that because that's not something I have a great grasp on. But
speaking of which,
I also don't think that's the only criteria, but it should matter.
Do you know that there was a 2,500-yard rusher in the NFL?
I did not.
That was it. That was this running back's point too. So that means you don't know who it was.
No, I don't.
I give you time to think about it without Googling.
We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we're brought to you by our friends at the NDOT. Make sure you're getting that seatbelt clicked. I know the roads aren't as icy as they were last couple days. That doesn't give you an excuse. Go ahead and click that seatbelt. It saves lives and prevents injuries, but only when worn properly. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB, we're talking about Hall of Fame here, right?
Yeah.
And
you figured out it was Chris Johnson from scrimmage?
So you threw me off because I thought you said rushing. You meant from scrimmage. So I probably still would not have gotten Chris Johnson.
I don't think anybody would.
My guess,
because it was better than your guys' year that you looked up.
My guess would have been Marshall Faulk. Now his was in '99. I couldn't remember if he was like 99 or 01, somewhere in there. He had 2,400 from scrimmage. He only had 1,300 yards rushing. He got the 1,000 and change receiving.
I do. It's funny.
I love Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk.
Hey, me too.
Is one of my dudes.
Me too.
Like, I love him.
Me too. How about Colorado just hiring him?
Dude, that's interesting. I like having some guys like, I don't know how I feel about Sapp, but I like having some guys.
I think Sapp can coach.
I don't know. I don't know. That's why
I think he I think he can coach.
The defense was much improved this year,
and they were physical up front.
I have to give credit to whoever's on that side of the ball that they did a good job. I like that Marshall Faulk is getting an opportunity if that's what he wants. But here's the thing, Chris Johnson's a really good example of this, right? Because you can ask, okay, can you tell the story of Chris Johnson, or can you tell the story of that era of the NFL without Chris Johnson? You could probably make the argument no. That one season by itself is outstanding enough. It'd be probably a glaring omission to leave out.
Yeah.
Here's the problem about Chris Johnson's like Hall of Fame case, though.
He's not. I don't think he would make a Hall of Fame case.
Okay.
I don't think he had, but he did have the 4 good years.
And there's a lot of guys like him though, with like short peaks. And here's the argument I would make about Chris Johnson and guys like him. He really had like one really good year. He had about 4 good years, but he had the one incredible year. And I think we sort of assume it was more in that neighborhood more than it was. But his next highest rushing total for a season is 1,300 yards.
Yeah.
So a full.
So he's giving you like James Robinson, Justin Forsett.
There's some.
I
don't know, like a Matt Forte.
Spencer Ware. Nah, Forte's better than you think.
Okay, that's fine.
Spencer Ware, right? Like Chiefs fans, help me. 16 or 17, like Spencer Ware, like comes out of nowhere. He goes for like, I don't know, 1,500 or 1,600 yards.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got to 500 again.
Yeah, you have these random, especially with running backs.
Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, you have these guys that randomly just go off for, 15, 16, 1,700 yards, and they're never heard from again, really. And that's basically CJ, but he cracked that 2,000 threshold. He also had the good receiving numbers that year, so I think we kind of given him assumption. I mean, as much as I love what Saquon Barkley did this year, that's an argument for him too. He hasn't had that many good years.
No, I mean,
he hasn't played a ton, so that's part of it.
Can I tell you how I'm still recovering? We haven't even got to what I really wanted to talk about in that big open segment. But
what's that?
I can't even remember now. But it wasn't this.
No, yeah.
You're
mad about Kuechly still?
Yes, you're kind of bugging me about that. How'd you know I was going to say that?
Because like I could tell you were stuck on something, and that was the only real thing you could have been stuck on.
I'm like, are we kidding?
Here's the problem though. It's because you're a Panthers honk. You're a Panthers honk. It's okay.
Good morning again.
Yes and no.
I mean, you kind of are, like a little bit.
Not really, but I'm not gonna say like that doesn't have a part of why I'm so why I'm so cognizant of accomplishments.
Yeah,
from Carolinians
because you're dialed in a little bit more.
I'm dialed in,
and so which is great. And don't get me wrong, Luke Kuechly's a really good linebacker.
No, he's better than that. Yeah, I'm not. You can't just blaspheme the guy.
I'm blaspheming by saying he's a really good linebacker. I said he's a really good line. What else do you want me to say?
He's great. He was a great linebacker
for like 6 years.
Oh my gosh,
7 years. Like he had a very short career.
Okay,
he was retired before he was 30. Did Carolina matter in any of those years? The 1 year was 2015. Was that the Super Bowl year?
Yeah.
So he had 1 year that like his team mattered. And statistically, that what I think was his worst season.
Are you really going to try to make the case against Kuechly?
No, I'm just saying, if you've got guys like that, like how many guys are there in the NFL, and maybe they're not quite to Kuechly's level, but how many guys are there in the NFL that have a really brief, like 4 to 6 year window where they're awesome?
I'm just telling you, if you make more than 3 All-Pro, I'm not talking
Pro Bowls. I know, All-Pro.
We've had these conversations of All-Pro.
Yeah, he made 6.
Because coincidentally, it would probably be the one knock against LD, even though I think Levante David is a Hall of Famer because of the few All-Pro. Levante David may only have 1 All-Pro.
Yeah, I'll have to check.
Pull up Levante David. There's a glaring omission of all pros. I think Kuechly has
6
total
all pros. First team.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Levante only has the 1, which is also crazy in the other way.
Because I looked him. I think I was talking to St. Louis Jordan. This was last year or the year before. And he asked me about him being a Hall of Famer. And emphatically, this might have only been last year. It was late, too, so I was a little sleepy. But I was like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. And then I went back, and I was like, ooh. The accolades
probably don't
fall a little short.
They probably don't measure up. And that's a guy I would love to see Levante David in the Hall of Fame.
He was incredible.
I would love to see Lavonte David in the Hall of Fame. And if you want to make a case for him for excellence over longevity, that's probably the best case for Lavonte David. Being
excellence
that good
for a long, long time.
That's what excellence and longevity means.
I thought you said over.
No, I mean excellence over a long period of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he's been excellent for a decade plus at this point, right? Has started off great, has been great pretty much ever since.
I would have said but I won't split hairs over.
Either way, we arrived at the same place.
Digesting the information.
But like if you tell me
by the way, I wouldn't have made that demarcation.
Yeah.
If the delivery wasn't, well, that's what it means.
I was confused
because immediately I wanted to say, well, say it better.
I was confused why you were explaining it.
I'm
back to me
because I'm slow.
But yeah, if you want to tell me his accolades don't match up for the Hall of Fame, like I don't have an argument against that. Like I can't really push back on it.
Yeah, this last 30 minutes is giving credence to why Amazing Daniel told me on Tuesday that he hates the Hall of Fame.
Why?
Because of stuff like this criteria.
I mean, I think it would be really helpful if we had more firm criteria, but I also think, like, I have an issue with the College Football Hall of Fame because they do have firm criteria, and that's why Mike Leach can't be in.
Yeah. Oh, win percentage, right?
Yeah, he's at literally if he would have won one more game, he's over the threshold.
Right around there.
Yeah, because he's at like 690 and change. Yeah. It's 700. So I go, okay, or it's 600 and it's 5. He's at 590, whatever it is, right? But like context matters there, right? He took over 3 of the worst jobs in Power 5 football.
I can't believe you just whistled right on by the old graveyard over Urlacher, but will fight me over Kuechly.
Well, I'm not going to argue. Like, if you don't think Urlacher should be in, I don't have a problem with that. I think Urlacher makes my point with Kuechly.
Fudge.
I think Urlacher makes my point with Kuechly that like the standard is too low for being a Hall of Famer at certain places. I think there's other places we get a little more protective of it, but I mean, if you want to put Urlacher in to get your guy Kuechly in, that's fine.
I don't think Urlacher is a Hall of Famer. I do think Kuechly is.
Just he's better. Just
yes, and I'm not sure it was close.
What do you do with the brevity of his career, though? Like, what do you do with that?
I think the only people that should really had their feet held to the fire for a certain amount of time, positionally, are probably running backs. I think there's something magical about 4 years. I think that's the lowest minimum
of like great years.
Yes. Everybody else I'm willing to negotiate on.
So
he's an inside linebacker that had 7 or 8 great years.
I'm gonna call it 6.
Great years.
I'm gonna call it 6.
It's tough.
He only had 7 or 8 years total.
He's tough. I mean,
that's cool.
I'm not gonna fight him over longevity.
At some point, does it matter?
Oh yeah, if he played 2.
Well, he's only a couple above that. I mean, let's just go put Bo Jackson in. It was 38 career games.
Wow.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and we're brought to you by our friends, the Omaha Supernovas. Make sure you get to supernovas.com to get tickets for the next match a week from Sunday at CHI Health Center. That's the next home match. Make sure you get to supernovas.com for tickets. DB.
Hi-bye.
So we're having this conversation about players, Hall of Famers, what matters, what doesn't matter. And you were a little surprised because I feel like sometimes I get you off your bearings a little bit.
Yeah, I'm floored.
When I throw something at you that you're not prepared for.
Well, and you were just so casual.
That's what they say about me. I'm very casual. Very low key, very cool.
Casual Ravi.
Yeah, casual Ravi. That's what people call me.
No. I like that is a good ring to it.
You should be mad that when you started to go into the Plunkett thing over the break, he didn't even listen to you.
I know. What I was saying was that
you didn't even pay him any money.
I didn't even hear him.
He sat on the bench. The thing about Plunkett was he sat on the bench for 4 years because of injury, and he was on a crappy Patriots team, and he was basically at that time, 1980. The story was, I mean, he was brought back from the dead, like he had the resurgence in his career, and that probably led him, a third of the way to the Hall of Fame, and also having the 2 Super Bowl rings.
By the way, was Cliff Branch was he an MVP? Was he a Super Bowl MVP?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we would have said him yesterday.
It was Plunkett. It was the linebacker, not Millen, but Rod Martin, and then Marcus Allen.
Rod Martin was Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they killed the Eagles' run game.
Yeah.
That was a huge.
I might have said Plunkett there. I meant Valentikov.
This is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge Wilbur Montgomery guy.
I know.
It's dumb. It's kind of innocuous. I'm old.
Yeah, it's Blitnikoff.
Yeah, it wasn't Branch because we would have named him yesterday.
Blitnikoff
when we were playing the guest.
Plunkett and Allen.
And my man.
Plunkett
Bruns was like, wow.
But that was another one of those things where Rod Martin had 3 interceptions. He could have been the MVP in that Super Bowl easy.
And instead, they gave it to that bum Jim Plunkett.
Well,
non-Hall of Famer Jim Plunkett. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Listen,
so what were you going to say?
Well, I think I threw you off a little bit there, and I think I don't know if you started to question yourself, but I think sometimes you're good at like self-reflecting in real time, being like, okay, is this a guy I have an irrational love for that and I'm not saying that Luke Kuechly's not really, really good. I
want you to say he was great.
He's really, really good.
Now you're going to get me to be pissed.
Here's my problem, though, and we were talking about the NBA off air and the NBA Hall of Fame because it's a sham. The NBA Hall of Fame's terrible. So I have the need. I just want to hold Hall of Fame people a little bit higher standard.
So that's the one you want to protect?
That's not like the hill I'm going to die on. I'm just saying
because the NBA is a joke. Major League Baseball has become kind of a farce with the way people.
Major League Baseball.
So you think the NFL is the safest to protect?
No, I think they all need to be overhauled. I'm just going through with a broom and cleaning things out. And in order to do that, you kind of have to be a little bit more stringent on the front end on the next ones coming in. I'm just going to have my own personal record books here. We're going to have our own personal Hall of Fames, and I will be the arbiter of who makes it and who doesn't.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Because the NBA is a joke, and Major League Baseball is a joke. Like you can't leave out Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and pretend like you have a real Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, you can't do it. Those are guys that never tested positive. If you allegations are fine, you can keep Alex Rodriguez out because he tested positive. But if you never tested positive, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't get to decide that. And also, they weren't even testing for most of the years that those guys were accused for. If you want to get real technical about it, they didn't start testing until 2003. Bonds hit 73 home runs in 01.
Now, this is a deal. Speaking of personal, I feel like this is a deal.
I love Bonds. I get very protective of Bonds.
And I think with as far as performance enhancers go, you give a little more grace.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because
listen, I wouldn't beat you up if you wanted to put them all in if they deserved it. Like if you just didn't care about the steroids at all and just said, hey, you go by my criteria of can you tell the story of the game without Alex Rodriguez? And you say, no, you cannot. And say, okay, go ahead, put him in. Because the numbers warrant it and so does the narrative. I'm fine with that. And you just put a little, hey, was suspended twice by Major League Baseball for performance-enhancing drug use. Put that on the plaque and we're done. I don't care. You can put it on Bonds' plaque. Was heavily accused of performance-enhancing drug use, but never failed the test.
Big Victor Conti guy. You want them to put
Big Balco guy.
Put that in parentheses?
Yeah. Special thanks to Balco for the assist.
There's your boy. Right on cue. What up, Emmett?
You love Emmett. That's your guy.
I've softened on Emmett.
You have.
I've softened on him.
In your maturity, you've gotten a little softer.
Since we're just admitting things, do you want the full reason why I'm hard on Emmett?
Yeah, sure.
Because at the longer I was at Nebraska and the more old heads I talked to, the story about Emmett Smith was greatly exaggerated.
Which one?
How close they were to getting
to landing him?
Yeah.
That is the thing I've heard about.
So for some reason I took it out on Emmett.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
I still don't think he's. I mean, Emmett wasn't even Fred Taylor.
You think he was the benefit of having maybe the best offensive line of all time?
Not of all time, but
up there.
Yeah,
top 10.
Certainly during that 6-year stretch.
That era, they had the best offensive line by far.
Yeah, I mean he was pulling Jahmyr Gibbs type runs.
Yeah,
or Derrick Henry. You watched Derrick Henry this year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy is the oldest he's ever been.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's how age works. You're
and
always
had
the
the
oldest
easiest
you've ever been.
runs he's perhaps ever had.
Yeah, nobody touched that guy.
It's incredible.
Ever. Nobody
was like,
touched that guy.
He may go for 400 against the Steelers if they give it to him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Which, by the way, I think I didn't know if I wanted to get to the turnout for Bus Boom Kelly or Jordy Ball coming back,
Mhm.
like which I was more surprised by. But I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
With Josh Allen winning the MVP. And I can say
what was the problem?
I could say out loud, Lamar Jackson had a much better year. But I think this time for MVP, they did not confuse it with most outstanding.
Yeah, value.
I think they actually went valuable.
So Lamar, more outstanding year.
Significantly.
Allen.
The stats weren't even close.
Allen, more valuable.
Wins, like, whatever. Like,
I'm fine with that. I'm not going to fight you on that.
I think they went with most valuable this time. And I'm okay with it.
Can I just throw a wrench in there?
Of course. I mean, it's been how the morning's gone. You're a wrencher. I used to date a wrencher.
Not like Austin.
Way back in high school. Would you like to know her first name?
Yeah.
Lakeisha.
Lakeisha Wrench?
Sure.
Oh.
Wrencher.
Gotcha.
Yes. Very quiet. Very quiet.
I don't have the guy that I would say is even more valuable. I don't know about more valuable. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles is unbelievably valuable.
Yeah. He was Offensive Player of the Year. They threw him a bone.
They did. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to talk about true value, you're going to have a hard time convincing me anybody but Josh Allen.
Well, are you cool with Surtain?
I don't have any strong feelings.
I mean, he's great.
He is.
But he may fall into the outstanding category.
For sure. That's kind of going to be your issue with Surtain. Now, I think it's harder for people on defense.
He is sensational, though.
I think it's harder for people on defense to separate value and outstanding. Like, I think that's challenging for a lot of people because they don't always, even football writers who don't.
And I think they fluctuate a little bit too.
Yeah, they kind of fluctuate their criteria, which I think is what frustrates Daniel in these conversations. But if we're going to talk,
sometimes it's value, sometimes it's outstanding.
Yeah, if you're going to talk pure value, you're going to have a hard time talking me off of Saquon Barkley. I'm not going to fight over Josh Allen, but if Saquon Barkley is not the next name out of your mouth for value, we're going to have a problem.
That's not sure I'd fight you over that.
Saquon meant so much to that Eagles team. That's the reason. Like, if they win a Super Bowl, not just in the matchups with the Chiefs specifically, but I mean, you look at that team, the difference is Saquon Barkley from last year to this year.
Why? Because Kenny Pickett was getting dubs?
You love Kenny Pickett. That's your guy. Big Pittsburgh guy. He loves Pennsylvania, that guy, that Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, big Keystone State guy. They thought they were sending him to exile. Man was racking up dubs.
I'm just saying. That's the hill that I want to, I'm not going to die on, but I'll take a nap on that hill. That Saquon's actually the most valuable player in the league. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Josh Allen, though.
I didn't either.
I'm okay with Josh
Allen. I know, like, I get it.
That's probably a pretty mediocre team without Josh Allen. Like, that's especially if they still don't give the ball to James Cook enough.
All right, I'm cool.
But I also think the Eagles are not mediocre, but we're having a very different conversation about the Eagles without Saquon Barkley.
All right, so we're gonna run out of time because we got to get to TV. More impressed by DBK's turnout, and apparently it's just cool to call her DBK, right? We lit that thing up, initials. Like, we're not gonna say coach.
I mean, they put the initials on the court.
I know,
in the big light,
and everybody says it.
I think that's an endorsement.
Okay, so I got to get over that. I don't think I could call her. I'm still gonna probably say coach.
I mean, you could
coach.
What do you?
Boom Kelly.
It's just a lot. It's very wordy.
I don't know.
You could call her Coach BK. Coach.
I'm trying to stay away from the BK thing.
Like no Burger King.
I want her to be her own thing.
Not
like Heavy D.
Not a big Brian.
Got our own.
Not a big Brian Kelly guy these days.
No. Although his press conference, he didn't mince words.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, get the story straight. I don't know. Well, I don't know why dad and son would lie, but
I know why Brian Kelly would lie.
Kelly didn't back down.
I'm just saying, look who has motivation to lie in that situation.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly has pretty good motivation to lie there.
DBK or Jordy Ball's return?
I mean, was it number 6 Tennessee?
Yeah. And they scored first.
That's hard to. It's hard not to take. It's hard not to take Jordy Ball there.
Yeah,
I do like the turnout for Coach DBK, but
Nebraska's gonna be able to swing that thing.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. Tim Verghese coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by our guy Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
EV, what's up, man? Are you over the old waste management photos, man? I think the coaches are going to take a little bit of a break here after putting in some significant time coming off the heels of that junior day.
Yeah, it's good to see. I'm glad these guys get a bit of a break because with the way the calendar worked, especially this year. There was no downtime in December, which you typically get like a week or two of something of a downtime. Typically get at some point in January a bit of a downtime too, and there was none of that this year. So I'm glad they're getting a bit of a break. I'm sure they're already looking forward to those 2 weeks in July where nothing happens, where they can truly be off. So I'm happy for them, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So, TV, does this time of year mean you get a couple weeks where you get to chill a little bit too, or is there no rest for the wicked here?
No, it's slower for sure in Feb, which is nice. For me, that means just hey, I'm kind of peeking over at the draft and doing some work over there and doing what I can over there. I always like kind of evaluating some of these guys from a longer term perspective and kind of evaluating, okay, hey, what did I miss this time in the recruiting cycle coming out where this guy's now a first round pick or a second round pick. And, I wasn't familiar with him coming out of high school, or I didn't have a super high grade on him coming out of high school.
Tim, can you kind of see what Nebraska's doing with the long play here with 26s, 27s, and 28s with how you think this roster is going to shape out based on whom isn't getting the offers?
Yeah, I would say this. I thought I was a bit surprised at how many 26 offers they made in January while on the road. I was going back through it yesterday and kind of running through some of the names. Some of those guys they offered and they're already out of the mix for. That just happens. That's recruiting nowadays where these things move so fast. There was a couple guys Nebraska offered. There was a guy Nebraska offered a day before he announced the top 5. You're never going to make the top 5 just because of, kind of the timing of everything. But I think the overall strategy, what you're seeing is one, they're not leaving any stone unturned in the sense that you kind of get a feeling that they're making certain offers, not necessarily because they know they're going to actually be involved in that recruitment, but because they want to build that relationship early, just in case down the line that guy's in the transfer portal. And that goes for 26 and beyond. But I think you're seeing a more strategic approach. I don't think they're casting as wide of a net as they did under, when Garrett McGuire and Evan Cooper were on staff, specifically at wide receiver and DB. I think there's a strategy for specifically the types of bodies they want to add or the type of athletes they want to add at those respective positions. And I think there's a vision coming together. I think the DB board, every offer is strategic. Right now, the receiver board is a bit, it's a bit scattershot, but you have an idea of what they're looking for.
So, Tim, you mentioned you kind of turn your eye to the NFL draft a little bit this time of the year, and I'm curious. We had this conversation earlier in the week. One of our listeners brought up the question, and I'm wondering if you're looking at the guys for Nebraska that would be draft eligible after next season. Who are some of the guys that would be most interesting to you if you're an NFL scout?
Yeah, I was listening to this discussion by y'all early this week, and I obviously Dane Key, Deshaun McCullough. Going to be in that conversation. Andrew Marshall potentially. There's a couple guys that are very obvious. I thought the Heinrich Haarberg mentioned by y'all was interesting because I just think that type of athlete, specifically that position, and the history of these tight end risers in the draft, and if like y'all are saying, if Matt Rule is for real, and I think he is for real about the type of athlete Heinrich Haarberg is, I think he's going to open some eyes this year from the tight end position with all the different things he can do. And I think a team's going to be intrigued just that, like, again, up at the NFL, they're trying to go positionless too. And, I think a guy like Heinrich Haarberg kind of intrigues people just because of the combination of size and athleticism.
Now, unfortunately, this stemmed on the heels of talking about a guy I'm not as big of a fan of, but he said, hey, Ravi said, if Emmitt Smith, one of his best attributes has got to be his availability. That's kind of what I think. And I was like, yeah, I agree, right? Like, that's being available is part of it. I think that's going to be a lot of what we see in Haarberg too, because he's relentless. He's one of the first guys on the practice field. He's certainly one of the last to leave. He's a high energy guy. He gets a ton of reps everywhere. He's just a guy that if you watch him, you're going to notice him, if nothing else, just by accident.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, and on top of that, this time next year, he's going through the interview process and through the combine and stuff, talking to coaches. Coaches are going to fall in love with that guy.
He'll win that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, Tim, is there anyone, because I know everybody always talks about the trenches and we're interested on the trenches. Like, is there anyone, I know Nebraska is going to be younger on the defensive line. So you're looking at, although technically Riley Van Poppel will be draft eligible after next year. And then on the offensive line, even a guy like Gunnar Gatula ends up being draft eligible. Like, is there anybody on the lines that you even look at as their frame and say, hey, if they have a breakout year, maybe one of these guys could push through also and be interesting?
Yeah, I think the guys on both sides of the line right now, I think they're going to see out their careers like 4 or 5 years, however much. I think they're going to see out their eligibility. That's just like, at this point, I don't think Riley Van Poppel, for example, is going to have a year where he leaves with the top 3 round grade next year. Even though he hypothetically could, I don't think he's going to have that kind of year. If he does, Nebraska's going to be better off for it, if he has a Ty Robinson type season. But yeah, I mean, he's one that I think is going to draw some just because of the frame. I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think Justin Evans and Henry Lutovsky are both going to be guys that draw some attention. Obviously, Rocco Spindler is going to draw some attention. I think Rocco at this point is probably going to be a mid to late round pick. I mean, that's what he would have been this year. We'll see how much further his stock can improve. Elijah Pritchett, potentially one good year just because of the natural traits there. If he does end up moving to left tackle and the move does go well because that's his home position, I could see just a world where teams, I mean, it's not even far-fetched for me to see a world where, Elijah Pritchett is suddenly like, hey, being talked about like a top 2 round guy just because of kind of what he's done. I mean, you look across the league right now. I mean, this last year, Amarius Mims was a pretty high pick by the Bengals, despite I think having a season of true starting experience. I think you've got a couple guys in this draft that are similar, just in the sense that they haven't played a whole lot of games, but they're former 5 stars. They have those elite bodies. And they play very high. So for Pritchett, it's not the fact that he hasn't played a whole lot of games. It's the fact that the Alabama tape isn't all that good. And so if you get to Nebraska and things start to improve, I mean, that's an NFL level frame that I think teams are going to fall in love with.
TV on the heels of, I told him and Dylan, they got to be trolling me. We on the heels of the last month and a half, I've been talking about like Dylan's development. We heard Coach Rule reference it at the end of his press conference and in the next steps to making it his team. He's at Westside last night for Westside Miller North basketball. But having said that, it's like, are you kind of tracking and vibing with the next phase in making this his offense? Because I felt like Coach Rule, and I can't remember who said it, might have been Bruntz or somebody that was like, yeah, you get the sense that wasn't the first time he'd had that conversation with Dylan about the sequential steps into making it this offense. That was fairly detailed and super specific.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense that, I mean, for this offseason, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago in the sense of.
You almost had me talked off of Dylan, by the way.
Like a few weeks ago, we had this conversation of hey, who's the guy that takes the step that like takes Nebraska the furthest next year? Like what guy takes a step? I mean, at the end of the day, I think Rule recognizes if you're former 5-star quarterback with all the elite traits to be one of the top QBs in college football, takes that step as a sophomore, your program ceiling is higher than you can even imagine. Like it raises that ceiling beyond anything you could say. So I think Rule understands that more than anybody, that, hey, the ultimate key to our long-term ceiling over these next 2 years is on Dylan and how much he buys in, how much of this he takes over for himself, and how seriously he takes all of this. Like, hey, what is he? Is he trying to win now? Is he setting himself up for the long term? Because that approach looks very different. If you're trying to win now, you're putting yourself in the best position to win right now. If you're trying to win in the long term, you're doing things and building up yourself, but you have that long term goal in mind. So where's Dylan at in terms of that? Is he I think he's locked in. I think he's doing a lot of the right things off the field, at least right now, in terms of, engaging himself in the community, being that leader.
He just goes to high schools sometimes in the area just for visits, big towns, small towns. Like the being the ambassador is fantastic. Just imagine elite level play on the field. I mean, the world would literally be at least the state of Nebraska would literally be his oyster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the publicity he's already gotten and all of that, I think he recognizes that too. Like, from a branding perspective and his brand, I think there's a bit of motivation in there because, year one was solid but not great. And it does have people. I mean, like, you see the comments about the Mahomes comparisons and all of that. Like, I think there's a world where, he's starting to take that a little personally and is on that. I'm curious to see what type of Dylan we see in the spring. Like, I think we're going to see the competitor. I think we're going to see like a fiery competitor out there. I think we're going to see all of that. I think we're going to see and hear from coaching staffs that, hey, he's doing things in practice that we haven't seen before. He's lighting it up here. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like, we're going to hear these different things just because I still believe that's the level of talent he is. He's a guy that I think is highly, highly motivated. And if he's fully bought in, and he can take that step, like, all the better for Matt Rule for like pushing him. Because I think this is the thing. I think I don't think people should read into Rule's comments as like is Dylan not 100% in? I think you should read into those comments as Matt Rule has elite expectations for his quarterback, who is hypothetically elite, who has elite potential, and he wants to help him get there by challenging him at every single point of his career.
Yeah, made me feel better about my comments a month ago. That's for goddamn sure.
We're talking with Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim, I know you stay super dialed in kind of in college football as a whole. So I was kind of curious what your thoughts were. Ryan Day got this big extension from Ohio State.
Is it 787 or 778?
It puts him at about 12 a year. So it had to be 787 would be 12 a year, 12 and change a year. Which makes him second highest paid head coach in college football after Kirby Smart. So if you're paying a guy $12 million a year and it's either Ryan Day or Kirby Smart, Tim, where do you feel better about your $12 million being?
I mean, personally, Kirby Smart, just because I'm a Kirby guy. Like, I would die for Kirby Smart. I'm not even joking. Like, that's a man I would send my like kids to play for. Like, I trust that man with defensive football, and just football in general. Like, I trust him in building. Like those guys in that Georgia locker room would die for it. Like, you hear the way they talk about him and the way they defend him and the way they are coming out of the way that like guys love Saban, of course, and guys like Day. But it's not the same. Like guys love Kirby Smart, and I don't think there's a coach better positioned for what the sport requires moving forward than Kirby Smart. Now, that's just me personally. I do think Ryan Day. I mean, I'll backtrack on some of the comments I made just because I think the situation's changed. This fall, I said Ryan Day multiple times across multiple platforms. I thought Ryan Day was soft in big games. I didn't think he oftentimes he kind of like backed away when the moment arrived. He completely changed that narrative this year by and the run he did it on completely eliminates those narratives forever. No matter what happens in the Michigan game moving forward, I think he still, for the sake of the fan base, does probably have to win that Michigan game next year to keep, people off of his back. And I think, when you look at what that roster is going to be next year, they're still going to be Ohio State, but they're probably going to take a step back just because they lose so many veterans. But I think he's a guy that has kind of answered that. And I like the fire from Ryan Day as of late. Like, I think there's additional motivation there. I think he's gotten a taste of success, and I do follow a couple of the Curb Street or Nick Saban described them as like the fringe lunatics or lunatic fringe of the Ohio State fan base. I do follow some of those guys and I do keep up with those guys. And they themselves are like, hey, Ryan Day's got to turn the corner. Like going into that national championship and coming out of that, like he's a fiery competitor. Like I don't think you can dismiss this national championship as they had far and away the best roster. I think there's part of it that Ryan Day kind of recognizes what it takes now to win at an elite level, to win these big games. I have some questions about some of the decisions he's made. I think the Virginia Tech hire to replace Justin Fry is good, but I don't know if internally promoting Heartline is the best idea. I thought you benefited from having a brilliant mind like Chip Kelly in the room, and I thought as Ohio State, you had the resources to kind of be aggressive there again, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to kind of sit on your hands and be like, okay, well, the formula works. This all works. We're just going to promote from within and we're going to keep this going. When that's not what worked. You have to break the mold to get to this point. You have to hire Chip Kelly to get to this point. And we'll see what happens. But the Heartline thing is something. Heartline's a great coach, and I think he deserves this. But there are some guys that are better positioned to be, or better as position coaches than they are as coordinators.
So, TV, the importance, though, if you're at Ohio State and you're looking at it, your roster as it currently sits, the defensive coordinator position seems to be the one that will be, more important isn't, I'm going to say more important. Like, I mean, he's got to get that one right, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have no idea where he goes there. I kind of completely blanked on the fact that Jim Knowles is gone, but yeah, Jim Knowles isn't there anymore. So yeah, they have to get it right. And I mean, there's again, the other issue, and there's two sides of the coin on this Ohio State thing. I think Ryan Day has turned a corner, but I also think that winning has also kind of given Ohio State as a program this okay, well, everything we've done so far is right. Like our process has been correct to this point. And it hasn't really. They haven't really done a great job of addressing the offensive line. Well, I mean, the hire they made just now at offensive line coach, that's a good recruiter right there. So I think they're going to do a better job moving forward, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they lack depth on that line right now. On the defensive side of the ball, Larry Johnson's a very good coach, and he should be credited for landing JT and Jack and keeping those guys around. But as a recruiter, he just is a bit over the hill. You look at some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball, you like what they have in the secondary, but up front, I think they need some work. So yeah, they have to get this defensive coordinator thing right because, you have to keep Caleb Downs happy. You have to have, who are their edge rushers next year? Can you guys name them? I mean, they're good, they're solid players, but it's not like they have another Jack Sawyer or JT when Jack and JT were coming in, they were coming in behind elite edge rushers. You could be like, okay, well, JT's coming in, Jack Sawyer's coming in. You don't really have that right now.
Tim, go ahead.
It's such an interesting. You get the big contract, the 780 some plus. He's a guy whose personality, he revs high, and clearly he's not afraid to lob the bird, right? Like I told you so, you guys made me miserable. Like you can hear it when he takes the mic. I wonder what happens. Does he stay angry? Does he stay edgy? Because he did everything. He's done what people said he couldn't do. And he was spurred on by the negative talk. Like, I wonder what's the next phase for him emotionally to attack this thing with the long-term deal. I wonder if it fits his personality.
I wonder a little bit if the
you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying though.
Because he's kind of he's like, yeah, take, he seems like a take that guy. So kind of what's next?
Right. And I think it does weigh on him that he hasn't won against Michigan in 4 years. I think that's the motivation going into this year. But you beat Michigan this year. What's the motivation from there? You know what I mean? Like, is it just keep beating Michigan, get back to the national championship? Like, is that motivation there for him? Yeah, I kind of have those same questions as well. I will also say
Michigan's going to be better than they were a year ago, and I don't know.
Oh, yeah. And not just this year, moving forward. I mean, as long as Bryce Underwood's there, that program is going to be the trajectory is pointing way up for them. So, yeah, we'll see. I wonder kind of how that the game's going to look this year, because I think we're going to see a Ohio State team that takes a bit of a step back, and we're going to see a Michigan team that takes a bit of a step up, and how that factors in when they meet on the field here at the end of this season. I wonder how that goes. I don't have a great read on that game or like less than a year out, but I'm curious how that game goes.
Tim, are you surprised at all that they gave him this extension? Like, I know he won the national championship, right? So it feels ridiculous to even say this. Like, are you a little surprised they didn't wait to give him the extension until after he beat Michigan?
No, I mean, I get it, but also, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, again, members of the lunatic fringe, but there were people in that Ohio State fan base that were like, even if we win the national championship, do we just...
I also think it's a pretty big fringe. Like, it might be the minority, but it's not a small minority.
Yeah, it's not at all. Like they call it the lunatic fringe, but it's like it's the most vocal portion of that fan base for the most part. Like it is the group that push. Like they don't win it without the lunatic fringe. As weird as it sounds, because like you're saying, Ryan Day needed someone to be like, "Hey, take that. Hey, I did it." Like if that lunatic fringe doesn't exist, then Ryan Day doesn't have that group to be like, "Haha, I did it." Because like there's no one there. He can't say that to me. He can't trash talk Michigan at all right now. Because Michigan fans are the ones that are laughing at him the most. Besides, kind of some at times his own fan base. He can't do that because he hasn't beaten Michigan. And so, yeah, like I'll say this too, because I was about to ask this question too. In every sport, you win the national championship and you have to pay this big contract to extend. Is it worth it because you got the championship? Like, is this extension worth it because you won the national championship?
Like, no matter what happens,
no matter what happens moving forward, is it all worth it because you just won the championship? I think so.
I mean, maybe, but I just, like, you already got the championship, right? So you're not really paying for the championship. It's not like you went out and paid Ryan Day $12 million a year and then he got you the championship. You're kind of paying for a thing that already happened. And I sit here and I go, okay, so if Ohio State goes 10-2 this year, and one of those losses is to Michigan, and then they lose in the first round of the college football playoff, that's not a crazy scenario, right? Like that's
not at all. Yeah, I mean that's very plausible. Especially again, I think they're going to take a step back.
Like, how good does Ohio State feel about $12 million a year at that point?
Yeah, we'll see.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, it's a super weird situation where this guy's coming off a national title. We all think he wins a ton. We all think he's a pretty good coach, and we're all like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's like the timing felt super weird to me, even coming off the title.
Yeah, and yeah, like we'll have to see what happens this coming year, because how does the fan base react to, again, what I think is going to be a bit of a down year. Like, I don't think they're winning the national championship or the Big Ten this year. I think that's Penn State's or Oregon's to win. I think there's a room for another program to potentially rise up in there, but it's weird. It's like, because if I'm an Ohio State fan at this point, I have the long view. I'm like, okay, it's not about this coming season. It's about the season after. Like, this coming year is about development. We're going to have to attack the transfer portal. We have to build this roster up, because you did have an elite recruiting class and you have young guys like Devin Sanchez and Riley Pettijohn, 2 5-stars at linebacker and DB specifically, that I think are going to step into your roster and make you better. I think both those guys have like kind of Caleb Downs level impact in year one, or like pretty influential impacts in year one with the program. And so how do you build around that? How high is your ceiling? Because for me, if I'm a Ohio State fan, the goal is about 26, not 2025.
So let me ask you something. I want to stay topical for a second here at TV, especially on the heels of last week. Venable saying he's going to call plays in 2025 defensively. Would you rather be a fan of Oklahoma's defense or Notre Dame fans coming off the season you have hiring Chris Ash?
No, Notre Dame. I mean, I'll be honest.
Interesting.
That Oklahoma situation is weird. I like Brent Venables. I think he's a very good defensive mind. I think he's got far too much on his plate, and it's weird because he is essentially like, he's saying these things like, "Oh, I'm going to call the defense." When were you not? When was he not? Like, when Ted Roof was there this last season, when was he not? It's still his defense, and yeah, they've been good. Have they made the offensive strides necessary to move forward? Do they have the personnel defensively to kind of compete at the elite level in the SEC? That schedule's brutal again, man. Like, Oklahoma's in a weird situation right now. I mean, I asked like people down there too, because this isn't just a current coach thing. It's kind of like from a bigger picture perspective, I think they're having a bit of an identity crisis. Like, okay, let's say they move on from Venables and they hire this exciting coach and it all works out. Where's the money coming from? Because that's the big issue right now. They can't outspend other people on the on the recruiting trail. Is a new coach inspiring a bunch of donors? Why wouldn't Brent Venables inspire the program? The program. The money's not coming. Especially with where Texas is now. I think what's weird is kind of the position they're in, where these 3-4 years of Brent Venables just happen to be occurring at the time that Texas is making this ascent to this powerhouse program, this Georgia, this Alabama level program, where they are a well-oiled functioning machine, and they can go up and say, hey, Oklahoma, you're not beating us for this guy out of Dallas. You're not beating us. If we want to recruit, we're going to outspend you and we're going to out-recruit you. And they've done that for the most part. One guy, Michael Fasusi, 5-star offensive tackle that did end up at Oklahoma. And that's just a kid that preferred to stick with his commitment, but very easily could have gone to A&M, very easily could have gone to Texas, had bigger offers from both of those programs, but ultimately decided to stick because he's committed. There's only so many of those guys that Oklahoma can pull from the state of Texas.
Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Great stuff as always, Tim. We appreciate it, and enjoy your Super Bowl weekend.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, TV.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are live here from the Pillar Exterior stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, which is where this Sunday for the big game, you can get some big flavor only at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Get your game day crew together and feast on 75-cent wings, dine in or carry out. And don't miss our exclusive back-to-back-to-back wings, a bold lineup of lime, chipotle, and barbecue flavors available only for the big game on Sunday. Great food, cold drinks, and the best game day atmosphere in town. Either call us or come swing down to Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill in La Vista or Gretna this Sunday, because game day is always a little better with wings. You a big wing guy for games?
75 cents I am, especially the breaded bone ends.
I was say you love the wings here.
Yeah, I could probably eat.
I'll take it. How many are you putting away?
Probably 12 or 13.
10,
Okay.
11, 12.
That's a reasonable number.
Yeah, I thought about this.
You're not like a big eater anymore?
So it's hard. Like, I think I can, but I'm really not.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be able to. I don't know. Like, what do you think you could consume the most of?
Like what individual food item?
Ounces in a sitting. Like, sometimes people say gummy bears. Well, I could eat 100 gummy bears. I'm like, yeah, you're eating. That's not even an 8-ounce pork chop. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That's a good question, because I definitely have.
For me,
Yeah,
it's meat
for sure. Yeah.
and I can get into some big ounces of steak, but it's not like a ton.
Yeah. What's your like standard steak or?
But it's more like
Standard
Yeah.
bone-in ribeye.
No, but like what ounce?
Oh, it's got to be. So they usually go 12, 18. Sometimes you can get in the 20s with bone-in.
Yeah, because
I prefer. You got to get into the 20s with bone-in. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, because it's a heavy.
I'm probably not going to order like an 18-ounce bone-in ribeye, because then you get into like dry age and you're spending like $63 or $68.
Yeah.
But I would like to get to the 20-ounce mark
for a bone-in. Yeah, I'll do bone-out ribeye, and I'm usually
16 to 18, 16 to 14 to 16.
Honestly, probably like 12.
12's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like
I'm
if
probably
you want to
going
be
12.
comfortable.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
not trying to stuff myself.
That's like my thing against fillets. There's nothing wrong with a fillet. I mean, it's a great cut of meat. I'm going to eat more than 8 ounces.
Yeah, my issue.
Or 5 for some.
Some of you get some little fillets.
Yeah.
But my issue is when I'm going out like to a restaurant to get steak, I'm a big sides guy. I love sides.
See, I'm not.
So I'm gonna go less on the steak, because especially potatoes. You get the best potatoes at steak places. Where it's like rotten potatoes. You get some. You get like a really good mac and cheese at a steakhouse. I love a good mac and cheese.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
You'd have liked that Neal Street Blues place.
Yeah.
They raped over the mac and cheese.
I love
Now,
mac and cheese.
Now, there's ways to do it now. Now, if you're talking culturally, people that look like us, like we bake mac and cheese.
Sure. I'm open to different ways of baking it.
Okay.
Like I'm not.
Are you cheesy, gooey like these? You're getting into the nitty gritty
I know.
now with mac and cheese.
So I like a really cheesy. Like I like it really cheesy, but not too thick. So you kind of have to walk the border there a little bit.
So you're more saucy,
like a saucy cheese, but I'm okay with having some pull.
You anti or pro Velveeta?
Listen, if in the right context, I'm pro. In the right context, like you can't be trying to give me a fancy mac and cheese and go Velveeta. But if you're going like a standard like mac and cheese, Velveeta's fine.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's popular to hate on Velveeta, but in its
in its right role, like a lot of things, it works.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to, like, if I'm going to lobster mac and cheese or something, like if I'm going fancy, I don't want Velveeta in my lobster mac and cheese. Like, that's weird.
Oh, Amazing Daniel. He brings up a good one.
What's that?
Pringles.
Pringles?
Yeah.
What about Pringles?
What he could eat.
Oh, I thought, I was like, he's putting Pringles on mac and cheese?
Like, have you ever thought I used to think, there were times where I would go without and I would be thinking, ooh, breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
I could eat 6. But then I look at how many ounces that would be, and I guess you'd have to count the muffin as a filler.
Yeah.
But I could eat way more meat.
It's definitely less than I think it is. Because I used to be a pretty big eater, and I'm not really anymore.
Yeah.
And it's definitely less than I think it is now. Whatever the item is, I'm shooting too high. I know that for sure.
I thought cheese, but no.
Cheese gets a little
it's meat.
Tough to
it's ounces of meat.
You know what mine
some people
you know what mine might be?
I know I'm gonna say non-liquid because
sure. Liquid's different.
I have a have a guy that could 2, 3, 4
put away some liquid
18
ounces.
Packs. That's a ton of ounces.
Yes, it is. And I can't do that either.
That's a ton of ounces.
But one thing, and I only eat this like once a year, but I could put away a ton of cereal.
Like a box?
Yeah.
I've watched people eat whole pizzas.
I used to be able to. I can't anymore.
I
used to be able to put away a whole pizza from our guy from Verse. I used to be able to put away a whole one.
He said you were in there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been in there a couple times the last few weeks. I try and stop in.
My boy.
Support our friends.
I can't believe I'm having this argument. I can't even get distracted.
About what?
I shouldn't give him any credit because he's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But he talks about things that that aren't really what's being discussed. It's just how many stats can I crank out? I must have said I'm not a huge Emmitt Smith fan. He's like, damn, how can you not be an Emmitt Smith fan?
I was giving you a hard time about Emmitt
and he
Smith.
proceeds to give me everything I know. I mean, This is the same guy that tried to tell me about T.O. and Frank, the transition, right?
Yeah.
Now, having said that, there's 15 running backs I would take before Emmitt. I don't think that's a hot take.
Just stylistically and
it's not that I don't think he's not good. It's just I would take Fred Taylor over Emmitt Smith. So I would take prime Fred Taylor over prime Emmitt Smith, and I didn't even give you a guy that I think is highly regarded in that list.
So here's the thing.
It's not that hard.
And I think this
is not that controversial.
Part of what you're getting at too is there is, like, all things being equal, you give Fred Taylor the rest of the offense, the offensive line.
I think Fred Taylor is one of the most gifted runners I've watched run the football between 1990 and 2025.
So part of
he was an incredible runner.
Part of your issue with Emmitt Smith is he was basically always in best case scenarios.
Yeah. He's good.
That doesn't mean he's not a good running back, but his numbers then probably don't accurately reflect his skill. Mm-hmm. Like, he's very skilled, but his numbers are all time.
Again, I'm not sure this is a hot take. Dallas Cowboy fans debate this. They debated it for 50 years. My dad used to scout for him. If I wanted a natural runner, like just a gifted runner, I would take Tony Dorsett over
Emmitt Smith.
Or Emmitt Smith.
Sure.
And that's just in the same organization.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a hot take.
I don't know. Sometimes I think he just likes to type.
I also think, because you were having this conversation on Twitter, and we can get to this in the next segment too, but I'll set it up here. You're having this conversation kind of a similar one about Patrick Mahomes on Twitter. Not that you think Patrick Mahomes is overrated.
I meant to get to that. That was to me that was a crazy take.
Yeah, so I want to get to that in the next segment here. So the argument was
I got to refrain. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
No, I looked at this closely because I wanted to get to it today.
I was floored.
So you asked the question 1-to-1, like same organization, everything.
Yeah, 1-to-1. This was on the heels of everybody wanting to shove
Mahomes into his own category
and put Brady to the side. And I was like, it's only been 2 years since Brady retired. Like, this isn't a different era. Like, what happened to vault Mahomes to this
Why
status?
are we willing to skip a few of the Super Bowls?
Yeah.
Right? And so
that was the catalyst.
And so that was the start of this. And then you go 1-to-1. Robbie says I'm taking Marshall Faulk over Emmett. I'm taking Marshall Faulk over most people, to be fair. I love Marshall Faulk.
I don't think that's a high. I'd take LaDainian. Like,
LaDainian's really good, too. Anyway. But so you go 1-to-1. How much better if you give each guy the same circumstances? So if you give Joe Burrow.
Well, I did franchise aside. I was like, hey, franchise and coaching aside, do you really think Mahomes is
right? All things being equal, if you strip away
is significantly better than Burrow.
But so I want to put it in a different context. If you just put Burrow in the circumstances Patrick Mahomes was given, how much different are those two guys?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that I feel about Burrow. He's pretty incredible.
Let's talk about that coming up next because I think
you talk about MVPs.
I think it's a really good question, and there's another question that follows it that we'll get to as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill and presented by our friends at Centris Federal Credit Union. It's February. Might be the month of love for some people. Might be the time to break up with your financial institution for others. And if you're thinking you might need a better situation moving forward, check out Centris Federal Credit Union. Online, centrisfcu.org. You can talk to experts and see how their services match up with your needs, whether it's checking and savings. They've got the best auto loans in the city, mortgages, refinancing, whatever it is. Talk to their experts and figure out what you need and what they can provide. It's centrisfcu.org, a equal housing lender and nationally insured by FCUA. DB, we were talking about this Patrick Mahomes conversation.
Yeah, right? I'm trying to get back to the exact tweets too.
So it was a really interesting conversation because I love this question. You were trying to strip it away from franchise and all the context, and I wanted to put them in exact same franchise and context because I think you get a similar.
That's hard to do, though.
It is, but I think with Andy Reid, it's different.
Because you know what? Okay, so I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
And then I'll move on. I'm gonna let you do your deal.
Okay.
It's the same thing that aggravates me about guys like Game Dog.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the whole put them behind those guys. I do. I can't stand the conversation because what people don't understand is there's dynamics that go with being with other people, right? Eric Crouch, who I have a strange affinity for.
It's not strange. He's a Miller North guy. Makes sense.
Okay, he's probably the guy that I appreciate the most that's younger than me.
Of guys that you didn't play with.
Okay?
Yeah. That are younger.
Yeah, that are younger than me. He's got a couple guys that are getting close now, but I mean, Amir's there's some guys that are close, but Crouch is I love his toughness. I talk to guys that played with I'm a Crouch guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, if you'd have put Crouch behind that offensive line, I'm like, that doesn't work because part of the beauty of that team in the 90s was how alphas played their role from a leadership standpoint and deferred, right? Because if you put him behind that offensive line, that also means you have to divvy up some of his carries. That also there's just a lot. So I'm not a big if you do that. Well, if you put LaDainian Tomlinson behind Dallas's offensive line, I'm like, no, I just watch them as runners, right? Like I try not to do that because I think it's difficult, number one, and it's a little myopic.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm not doing with personnel. I'm doing it with franchise and head coach, which I think is a little different.
That's fair. So you're gonna give.
If you give me,
you're gonna
Andy
give
Reid,
Burrow Andy Reid.
Yes.
Okay.
And a more functional franchise. let's not forget about how dysfunctional the Bengals have been basically forever.
And a healthy Kansas City offensive line is top 5, 6 in the league.
But I'm even all with all other personnel.
Okay.
Like, I don't need Tyreek for any part of his career. I don't need any of that, right?
No Kelsey, no nothing.
Just give me
Okay.
Andy Reid and Joe Burrow together. How much different is he than Patrick Mahomes? Like, how much of a gap are we talking about then? Because I'm a guy that context matters for quarterbacks a ton, right? I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have been great anywhere. I'm saying he was definitely going to be his greatest with Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I'm same thing with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, right? I understand there's a chance Tom Brady would have been really, really good anywhere. I think his specific circumstances, where he was brought along and the franchise he was with and the head coach he was with, dramatically impact what we think of as Tom Brady.
Okay. Go ahead, Shano.
Did you have the same narrative towards Reid before Mahomes?
Yeah, because I loved Alex Smith. I loved him with Michael Vick.
No way, man.
No, not the same narrative, but I thought so highly of him.
Okay.
I thought really highly of him before because it was the Michael Vick thing. I talked about this the other day.
No, now that okay.
He did the Michael Vick thing, and then I was like, oh my gosh, maybe he was the secret sauce, not Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, because remember I told you he's still the same guy that wouldn't give the ball to Westbrook.
And I was
struggled with clock management.
I was excited when Alex Smith went there because I always thought Alex Smith kind of got a raw deal in San Francisco because he went through so many coordinators and so many head coaches, and he's finally playing well, and then he gets hurt and then loses his job. So I was excited when he got to go play for Andy Reid. So when Patrick Mahomes went to Andy Reid, I go, oh, that's special.
Yeah.
Right? So
and
you give me Joe Burrow with Andy Reid?
And what you got to give, what you have to give him credit for is they went and got him.
Yes. They identified.
So clearly they saw something in him that some other people didn't.
100%.
So
and
that's number one.
Here's the other thing is I really like that Andy Reid's done it with a bunch of different styles of quarterbacks. Like, you couldn't get any further apart than Alex Smith and Michael Vick in terms of physical tools.
Or Mahomes and
McNabb. Like, you're talking about a variety of different guys. Personalities, skill sets, and guys, right?
So this was the thing that I asked. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, because Cynthia Freeland wasn't the only one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Damon Woody, who even was a Patriot, was like, oh, yeah,
Mahomes is his own deal.
3P, man, it's Mahomes.
Yeah.
And I was he's kind of talking about it in terms of dynasty.
Sure.
He's like, they're their own dynasty. So my man TG says, I think all of the over-the-top love for Mahomes is because they have such a hard time comparing quarterbacks over different eras, and he seems to have so much separation from his peers that we think are good. I think it's the most we've ever seen between the number one quarterback and the next guy.
Yes.
My response was, you think one-to-one independent of franchise that Mahomes is that far from Burrow?
I would even toss in Josh Allen. You think how far is he from Josh Allen?
It's over Twitter.
But Burrow's my favorite of the group. So go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
And I just look at what he did statistically behind patchwork offensive line. Mm-hmm. I get it. Higgins and
good tools, but patchwork offensive line and a bad defense.
And he goes, so I agree it's hard to create a scenario to prove it, just to say that that's what they're doing from a quarterback draft of any era, but it's more than. Now, this is what threw me. Mm-hmm. It's more than Brady to Manning.
He said the gap is bigger.
The gap from Mahomes to this era of quarterbacks.
Yeah, Burrow, Allen, whoever you like best.
Is bigger than Brady to Manning or Montana to Elway or Elway to Marino. And I couldn't disagree more.
So can
I couldn't disagree.
Can I start somewhere, though?
First of all, Manning had a winning record against Brady in the regular season.
Here's the thing is I actually don't know if there's I don't know if I'm just going playing the quarterback position. I'm not talking about QB wins. I'm just the playing of the position. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think Brady and Manning are basically the same.
How about this?
Is that crazy?
How about this? How about if those are the two guys from that era?
Sure. What about Aaron Rodgers?
Throw Rodgers. Yeah. Put Rodgers in there. Are you that convinced that this era of top 6-7 quarterbacks in the league couldn't hold their own against any of the eras?
Yeah. I will take just the way they play the position.
Because if you want to make the case,
Because it gets pretty slim after Marino in that era too.
Man, you got to go back and look at Elway's accuracy too. Man.
Rough.
I'm not calling John Elway overrated. I do think his career has aged well.
Yes, because of the way it ended.
Like
he gets a lot of credit because of the way it ended.
Yeah.
But also,
I mean, he's a lot closer to being Aaron Rodgers than not.
100%. He's a lot closer to being Phillip Rivers than not.
So
if he doesn't get the 2 Super Bowls at the end, do we view him the same as Phillip Rivers?
I mean, I think like Josh Allen is incredible.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is incredible.
I also think the depth of quarterbacks is much because after Montana, Elway, Marino, it gets pretty thin.
Oh, I know.
Well, you got Phil Simms. You got
that's not there.
Phil Simms is not even close.
Not there.
Jim Kelly.
I'll listen to Jim.
Jim, I still think is a tier down, but he's closer.
Yeah.
He's closer than Phil Simms. But like, I'm not putting Boomer in that group.
So again, being locked in my hotel room in
Theismann,
Champaign-Urbana, I went back. I watched Jim Kelly and the Bills and how dysfunctional they were early. And I go back and I pit it against some of the stories that Foreman would tell me about the locker room.
Yeah.
I'm more proud of what the Bills accomplished than ever, and I'm not even a Bills fan.
Well, and the drop off.
Because what Jim Kelly was capable of doing is what I think we undersell in quarterbacks.
What's that?
Controlling and managing your group.
It's the thing you liked about Anthony the best.
Yes.
Rizak.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the thing that I love about T. Phrase the best.
It's the one thing you cannot measure even a little bit.
Nope.
You have to put him out there and see what happens.
Nope.
Also, maybe the best thing about Joe Montana too.
Yeah.
Like his ability to be cool.
To tell jokes about what people had for breakfast when they have to have game-winning drives in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, or be like, hey, is that John Candy?
Yeah. So I don't know.
The John Candy is one of my favorite stories, but but I would argue.
Is this just me?
No, because
is Brady to Manning further away or closer away in peers than Mahomes and Burrow? Or Allen?
Here's my problem is, like I said, I think Brady and Manning, in terms of just playing the position at a high level, are basically even. Like I don't have a strong preference either way in terms of playing of the position.
It was the fact that Brady won so much.
Yeah, that was the differentiator.
But as a quarterback, you're like,
I kind of lean Manning, honestly. Like if I'm being 100% transparent, just the playing of the position at their peaks, I think I take Manning over Brady. Brady was in a much better organization and a much better situation.
I want to feel like I can conjure up some feeling. I'm not.
Like you can't be mad.
I'm not mad.
Like it's because at the very least it's super close. So I maybe think the gap is a little bigger between Mahomes and Burrow, but it's not because of Mahomes and Burrow. It's because I think Manning and Brady are basically even. But again, that's why I brought up this other context of if you give Joe Burrow Andy Reid for his whole career, I bet we're having this conversation in reverse.
I mean, Joe Burrow was sacked. He led the league in being sacked before.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was floored.
I do think the argument that the gap between Mahomes and everybody else is dramatically inflated.
Yeah.
It's just the winning.
Yeah.
That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. Mike Sautter coming up next. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Mike Sautter of NEBPreps and Hurrdat Sports. What's going on, Mike?
Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing today? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
I like your sweatshirt.
Yeah, you like this? So,
and by the way, this material is my favorite for sweatshirts. It's comfortable. It's I don't know what the term is.
Soft.
Yeah,
soft.
Sure. Oh, it's soft, like your personality.
I was gonna say soft, and then I changed.
Like a baby's bum.
No, I was gonna call somebody out, but I didn't. So.
Hey, but anti-soft. How'd you like that buzzer beater last night?
Yeah, that was a really tough shot that JJ White made. I mean, a really tough shot. Hand in his face. He almost lost the ball, dribbling off his foot.
And he's dribbling. It's just the shot we talked about the other day. Going left, being a right-handed shooter.
Yeah.
The most incredible part was, that shot was incredible, but he scored all 12 of Omaha's points in the final 3 minutes and 12 seconds of the game. and a couple of them were like reverse up and under layup things that went off the top of the glass and in. He was just on a heater. And he was, I wrote about it. I put it out this morning, but I wrote about it in my post game thing. His emotions after the game were, I mean, he was pretty emotional after the game. Let's just say that. I mean, when he's walking back to the locker room with his white undershirt over his face and then pulls his shirt down and you could see the tears kind of coming out. It was a lot of work went into that one shot. It wasn't luck. That was work.
And after their start in the non-con and some of the giveaways early on the schedule, 9-1 in the Summit is just how you drew it up, right?
Yeah, right.
Who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's the first time in the Division I era that they've ever been 9-1 in the league, and they're kind of just on a heater. Last night they didn't come out and play with energy enough right away. Offensively, the ball just kind of got stuck, and they were standing around watching Markel Sutton is what they're doing. And Markel's fantastic. Like Markel's great, and if it wasn't for Oscar Clough averaging 15 rebounds a game or whatever he's doing for South Dakota State, Markel Sutton would be the player of the year in the league.
Let me ask you something. Since everybody's at home playing in the state this weekend, who's got the most important game?
Probably Nebraska, because the Creighton Marquette's a big game, obviously for obvious reasons, and Omaha and North Dakota State is a big game.
They're all big, right?
Yeah, but I think Nebraska, just because of the 6-game losing streak that they had, it's another quad one opportunity for them to build their tournament resume. I think at this point we feel pretty comfortable that Creighton's going to be in the tournament.
Yeah, I make the argument that Creighton's game doesn't matter at all. Like a loss there doesn't hurt them at all.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't hurt them really in terms of their larger.
If that's your
if you're not talking about for like what's the biggest game, losing doesn't hurt Creighton even a little bit, and losing hurts.
Are we operating under the assumption though that Omaha has to win the Summit though?
Well, okay. Here's one weird thing about the Summit this year.
Are you at-larging them with two?
No.
Hey, don't. Well,
yeah. The weird thing about
I'm just providing. I asked the questions to provoke thought. I know what I think the answer is, but we're quick to dismiss the game. That's my point.
Yeah. The one thing about the Summit League this year, and a lot of people I guess don't know this, but St. Thomas is still not eligible to make the NCAA tournament due to the transition years. I think this is year 3. And them losing last night was big, and Omaha getting that win was big because there's 1 game separation now. But St. Thomas, they can't make the NCAA tournament, so even if they win the Summit League tournament, the winner of the regular season champion, if St. Thomas were to win the Summit League tournament, goes to the NCAA tournament. It's not the team that finished second.
It's not the runner-up in the tournament.
Correct. Yeah. So
Summit League title is actually very important.
Very important. Yes.
I didn't know if you meant regular season or tournament. That was my confusion.
Okay. I was going to say, it's almost like I didn't just say that.
My confusion was
without the fluff.
I thought you were asking about whether it could be a 2-bid league.
No, I'm well aware of the rich school up north that can't get in.
Yeah. So I kind of disagree. I think, the Summit League tournament, if St. Thomas were to win the tournament, that the runner-up in the tournament should go. But, that's what they decided. So the regular season league champion, if St. Thomas were to win it, would go.
So, ironically enough, the guy that you love, that I think is no good, That's how he got in the NCAA tournament. Shaheen Holloway with St. Peter's. They actually didn't win their conference tournament.
By the way, Jerome, I don't love
He loves Shaheen Holloway. Loves him.
He started out the show by saying, I am inferring and saying a lot of things that clearly I don't even know if I've thought about.
Got a lot of texts about how much you love Shaheen Holloway and how I'm crazy for thinking he's kind of booty, but whatever.
I might be on Ravi's team on this one.
That's right, Team Ravi. No, so a lot of big games this weekend. So we're not dismissing Omaha's slate for sure, but you think Nebraska is crucial, got to win, got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, you got the moment. They found the momentum, right? Like they changed things. They found some toughness to win both of those games on the road. And you didn't come back home or anything. You're just out there on an island, by yourself in Seattle for a couple of days. And to win against Washington the way they had to win, with Washington shooting, that was unbelievable.
The way that started, yeah.
That the way that game started.
Finished 7 of 15 from behind the arc the previous game, and made their first 8, right, against Nebraska.
Yeah, in the first half they were 9 of 12, but they made their first 7. They were 7 for 7.
At one point they were 16 of 27 and a game and a half shooting the 3.
Yeah,
Washington.
That's hard to overcome.
And before that, they were 9 of 45.
Yeah, for a team that's like
not a good shooting team.
Yeah, no, a team that was even in like the game preview I wrote, I was like, oh well, Nebraska's bugaboo's been defending the 3-point line. Well, that shouldn't be a problem tonight. I'm summarizing what I said, but that shouldn't be a problem because Washington doesn't really shoot the 3 very well. And then bam, like right away it was, that's all right. But Bryce Williams has decided that he wants to be the guy now. So
I tell you, Ball had the funniest innocuous comment ever.
Don't get twisted.
No, that one got all the pushback. Wow. He said, "Listen, sometimes we overthink it. You're good players. You're great. Your good players just have to play well."
Yeah, just like go be the guy. Like everybody knows.
On has played well. Asijan has played well.
Yes,
obviously Bryce has. Yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew Morgan's played really well.
My dude.
The starting lineup change has given them a ton of energy. I mean, a ton of energy. With even Hoiberg, he's not going to score 10 points a game, but he brings the energy. Like he brings some energy to start the game, and they've gotten off to some.
We have one of our listeners that had some fantastic stats about Hoiberg and his minutes, and I was just getting ready to say, of course, Ravi's shaking his head because Ravi was giving my man Logan pushback, but the statistics were incredible. If you want to, you kind of know them off the top of your head.
Yeah,
right?
They're 10 and 17 in games.
He hasn't started.
Power conference games. Not that he hasn't started. That he didn't play at least 20 minutes.
Didn't play 20 minutes.
And they're 18 and 8 in games in which he's played 21 minutes or more. And in games in which he's played at least 30 minutes, they're 4-0. That's off the top of the dome, just so you know. But
does that sound about right, Sautter?
Sounds about right. I mean, he makes plays.
My question, Sautter, wasn't whether or not Sam Hoiberg is valuable, because let's not forget, I started that whole thing by saying, can two things be true at once? That I think Sam Hoiberg is valuable and good for that basketball team, and that I think the stat could be a little misleading, right? Because if we pick, like, let's say 19 minutes instead of 20 and 21, we pick 19 and 20, like how much do those records change, right? So my question was, if we're talking...
Don't fall for that, Sautter.
I'm not falling for that. That's just how statistics work and how you pick an arbitrary number.
But you don't know. You're inventing a what if.
No, but I know anecdotally because I was looking at his minutes for over the course of the season, and some of the games that they've lost with him, he's playing 17, 18, 19 minutes. So you're telling me the difference between a win and a loss for Nebraska is 1 or 2 more minutes of Sam Hoiberg. I just don't know if that's true. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know that that's true.
He's 93rd in the country at all the players in the country in steal percentage at 3.7. That's pretty good. That's pretty positive.
Yeah.
Listen, he's a quality basketball player, and I think he's good for that team. I just think the stat can be a little misleading. Do
you think it is in this case?
I think the number is very arbitrary. Like, do I think you need to play Sam Hoiberg? Yes. Do I think there's something magic about 21 minutes versus 18?
I just think that's
No.
what the data is shown.
I think that's
the number.
I think our friend picked that number because it showed him the data that we wanted.
So you think he started out by saying, I wonder if Hoiberg plays, what happens when Hoiberg plays 20 minutes?
I think he probably started with what happens when Hoiberg plays more.
I'm going to ask him.
Because, listen, if we're having a conversation between like 8 minutes and 20 minutes, I'm here for it.
I told you, I felt like 20 is a good, safe number.
I think 20 is the number that gave him the results he wanted.
I think it's fair. They clearly, Nebraska, that is, making that starting lineup change, was looking at data and analytics to make that change. To make the multiple changes that they made. Because remember, Braxton Mia is basically like him getting in the game the other day was like, whoa.
Let's not pretend like it took advanced analytics to see Braxton Mia wasn't playing very well.
No, I'm not saying that. But the two changes that Morgan and Hoiberg in the starting lineup and Mia just basically out of the rotation, it kind of, they're right now, Nebraska's basically playing 7 guys. Like, that's it. Like, Ulyss is kind of out a little bit now. Mia's kind of out of the rotation now. So they're, in the last 5 games, their most frequent lineup has been Raleigh Worcester, who's started or didn't start and then started and then didn't start. Sam Hoiberg, Bryce Williams, Jawan Gary, and Barricade Bootengel, who needs to grab rebounds better. So, like, I don't know. They're using data, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, that's I almost went down the Barricade.
Go ahead, go down the Barricade.
Yeah, please do.
No, I don't. It's anecdotal. I don't want to.
Okay.
Eat up the time. So it's saw real time last night, Jerome. While you were doing your Omaha Mavs thing, West Side and Millard North. I don't think that outcome surprises you, but if I told you that it was the offensive rebounding from Millard North and the inability, really for me, for Westside to kind of take care of the ball. Now, London Dada did get on a heater.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can count on that all the time, even though he is a great shooter. But there were times I didn't think that game was going to be very close. But Westside, they showed some fortitude.
Yeah, actually, Jacob and I were texting about the game because we both were watching it about 12:45 this morning. So I went back and watched kind of the last 10 minutes.
Kind of how I felt like texting Austin every 2 seconds. I'm like,
I went back and watched it because I wanted to. I'm a part of a group text chat with some people that were there, who I believe you know, Damon.
I hit him up a couple of times. He has a lot of. There's one guy in particular that just really gets under his skin. So I hear about that a lot.
So I was and I was like, whoa, what happened? There was a T and a charge call and stuff like that were, that I wanted to watch. So I went back and watched it. And London Dada was really good. He can shoot the ball like that all the time. Like, he's a great shooter. I'm just not sure he's strong enough yet to, like, get to the rim.
It's something that I like. He dribbled it a couple of times too. A lot. It wasn't always just catch and shoot. Now that will be something if he can do. Look out.
I told his dad, Tola, who played at UNO, that everyone, I think a lot of people know.
Who's hilarious, by the way, for a guy that doesn't really try to be funny. He's very stoic, but I think he's
got a great laugh.
Oh yeah, especially when you get him going.
Yeah. So I told his dad last year when he was like end of the bench guy and not starting, I was like, listen, he's gonna be a guy someday. It may not be next year, but that kid is gonna be really, really good someday. And he was like, oh, he like laughed, like gave me that big smile and laughed. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like there's stuff there to work with. So it's nice to see him doing it. The one thing that stuck out to me at the end of that game watching it was the switch on the last play with Derek Rollins just switching the ball screen and a longer, bigger body to slow down Lee Robinson from getting a shot off or making a play. That was a great switch.
Yeah, I think they kind of knew that high ball screen was coming,
right?
And he was ready to kind of step out and hedge. What do you make of? And I'm gonna get off Miller North just for a second, but what do you make of? What would you do with the importance or where you need Major Mosser to be? He hit some huge threes last night, but it wasn't like over the. It was timely, right? 30-footer here, a 27-footer here. It wasn't like an inordinate amount, but it seems like when he's stretching them, and you saw the crafty foot. Rollins was back to he had a post move, one leg fadeaway last night, Mike, that was so tough at the end of the shot clock. I was like, I just watched this guy knock down 2 threes a second ago. Like, is he really adding? You know what I mean? Like, their versatility, and then to stretch you. If they shoot good, sometimes they take some ill-advised shots, but don't we all? But, man, Mosser seems like a key to me.
Oh, yeah. He opens the space up for Rollins to either put his head down and drive with his shoulder. Like, I've seen him do that so many times.
He hit one from the volleyball tape. On a pull-up.
I've been a big fan of Major Mosser for a while, just because of his shooting ability and his length. He's okay. What he's not going to do is take you off the dribble to the rack. Like, that just isn't his game. But his ability to either sit in the corner and just drill a three, and his size, he can shoot over the top of people. Or if he's really feeling it, he'll hit that volleyball line three. And he's gotten a little tougher recently, too. I think it's been kind of key for them. Millard North, you
said, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
You were animate.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year, like, they need to find some toughness somewhere. And
they were really good on the offensive glass last night. And I think they took advantage of Westside's inability to make free throws. But conversely, and I was talking about this with Austin, he said of these two teams, Millard North is the one that I could see winning three days in a row. But if Westside shows that kind of fortitude and can take care of the basketball better or make free throws, because I don't know if you're going to get both. That's a little too myopic. I don't know, man. Like, I think people want to talk about what they're not, but they sure do find themselves in every game.
Yeah, I think it's the trip to – I'll have to ask, but I think the trip to St. Louis and how well Millard North played has given them a ton of momentum. And it's really just springboarded them for the rest of the season here. Also, Westside, I've said all year, I think they're pretty dang good. I like their length, and they look totally different than they have. They just need some maturity still, I think, just because you have some young player. I mean, you have a freshman point guard. You have some inexperienced guys that haven't played a ton of varsity minutes. But I still think that they're going to be right there in the mix. It's just a matter of, two of their 3 losses are to Papio South. Like, Papio South's also good, too. And we haven't even brought up the number 1 team in the state, Westview Wolverines.
Because according to my little watching partner last night, Breeze Benning, he said if people could just copy what Westview does, playing hard all the time, they would be better. And I was like, Micah, do you realize how hard that is for people? But Westview clearly plays hard all the time. I think they're good. I feel good because I fought over them a handful of weeks ago. But since then, Millard North has a couple good wins, so I may have to walk it back a smidge. But it's not because Westview isn't good, though. Like, I think Westview is versatile and they're well-rounded.
They're obviously well-coached, outside of maybe the one assistant coach that almost threw hands at me once, but we won't bring that guy up.
I love him.
They're well-coached. Westview
You would have been wrong to fight him because he wasn't even healthy. Like,
I'm talking about the guy that is a barber.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my man that was using the cane when he was mad at you.
No.
Fighting him.
The dude that is a
He
barber.
was joke you once too. Maybe it's just a you thing.
Him and I are good friends, but that dude I would run really fast and try to not have him catch me because he's a big dude.
That's a really good. There's probably 4 or 5 different guys that can get you.
Yeah, on that team. Yeah, you have Sims, great. Like John Sims said it, I guess here, I think last week, maybe not. But John Sims is like he's what, 5'6"? I mean, how big is he really? Like
he's fearless. Like
yes, he is He is not scared of anybody, and he's been solid for them. And them adding Amir and his shooting and scoring ability has been huge. And frankly, Taven Zephyr Murphy has played like he's the player of the year right now. I mean, he's played really, really well this whole year. So they got other complementary pieces.
You know who's a dark horse if they can win enough games? I think quietly Garcia's pretty good this year.
Yeah. Well, what they did last night to Lincoln North Star, they just crushed them. I mean,
North Star is so
up and down.
Like, is this the team that took the second Northeast down to like the wire, or it was the 66-63 over Southwest, or is that the team we saw last night? Like their shot selection though, I guess that's the key, right?
Yeah, shot selection, and frankly, if you just get the ball to the middle of the court to beat their press, it's pretty.
I do think Castor's pretty outstanding though.
Jordan, yeah, the player, yeah. He's good. He's good. He can hit big shots. I've seen him. You know, you and I both have. You grew up around him, Damon. I mean, like watching him play. I've seen him hit some huge monster shots, like in big moments. So he's a nice player. Last night was kind of like eye opening a little bit, though.
So it solidified for you that Northeast is the team.
Yeah. No, I mean, Lazarick Houston. Let's face it, man, no one's getting buckets like that guy right now. So, and my phone is blowing up about him. Like every single day, I'm getting a text. How good is this kid? What do you know about this? Like recruiting wise, from
just make sure you remind him. Don't let the slight frame fool you.
No, he's a straight bucket. Like he is a straight bucket getter. And he's basically a one man band kind of. I mean, just doing it all on his own, which is credit to Monty for letting him just go, like knowing what he is and knowing what his team is.
That's our guy, Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports, NEBPreps. Sautter, we'll talk to you later.
Deuce.
Hey, big wrestling duel tonight.
Oh, I know. I can't wait. I'm pumped.
That'll be big.
Huge.
We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at the Pillar Exterior Stage, and it is time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, whether it's at the casino in Lincoln or in Omaha. It is Warhorse Sportsbook, the place to be.
Holy smokes.
What's up?
At 9 a.m.
What happened?
From Bruce Feldman. Get this.
Uh-oh.
Sources. The Dallas Cowboys are targeting K-State OC O-line coach Connor Riley.
I saw that.
To become their new offensive line coach. Riley is one of the most respected O-line coaches in college football amongst his peers.
Yeah,
boy,
I saw that.
That would be devastating.
I'll say that's a huge blow to Kansas State.
To Manhattan.
That's a huge blow to Kansas State. I
just text him about an offensive lineman here locally. Well, what's he going to say, though?
He's like, I'm peacing out, homie. What's...
He did say, I'll get back to you tomorrow. So I assume he's busy.
He's like, I got some stuff going on. Got to call my agent back.
I love that guy.
Yeah, great offensive line coach.
Like, he's got a good eye for talent, too.
Yeah, and they were good.
He's got a good eye for talent.
Last year was his first year as OC, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had a good year.
Lance made the offer to Braylon Moore. Like, he's
good eye.
Yes.
Yeah,
that goes back to my doing broadcasts with Kugler for the Mavs.
Oh, really?
That's how. Yeah, wow, I was right. I'm old. Wow, I was right.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a big one, though.
Your boy was doing those games.
A lot of I don't know if you know this. This is a big gambling weekend, DB.
That's what I hear.
This is what people tell me. Apparently, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 billion is expected to be gambled.
It's a big number
in America this week. And
well, I smell bet.
You've got your regular, your run of the mill, over, under, your spread.
I'm mad at whoever put Butker in my head.
Well, I think you put it in your own head.
No, I think somebody.
Oh, somebody in the chat said they took a flyer.
Yeah,
I think on Butker at like plus 20,000.
B. Edwards was like,
that's not a bad take. Like because he said he took one a few years ago.
Yeah.
In the first, was it McPherson in the Rams?
Yeah,
I think he said. The spread's down to -1, Kansas City favorite. Over under's 48.5.
I still think that's high. I'm probably the only one though.
I would say B's on all the overs.
I know.
B. Edwards is on all the overs.
I think everybody is in the Super Bowl.
Team totals, the overall total.
So
first half.
So
totals.
I would assume the team totals are at 24.
24.5, 23.5, somewhere in there.
Makes sense with a 48.
Yeah.
A hook.
So yeah, they are. But B. Edwards is on all those. He loves all the overs. You're feeling under though.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had, gun to head.
Well, I'm not saying we have to pick this one because
I mean, heaven forbid.
We have a million props.
Yeah, this is interesting because I'm just okay at these.
So there's a handful that I wanted to look at. If you have some, I have a list up here too. If you want me to look one up, I will. But I was looking mostly at Mahomes and Hurts, and then a couple Barkley ones as well.
You're on Saquon.
I am on Saquon, but I don't know if I love these numbers. Okay. What I do love is Hurts' rushing attempts at 8.5. I'm taking the over on Hurts' rushing attempts.
I think that might be safe as a kitten.
I did see also, so B. Edwards.
What, they set that when they thought his knee was hurt?
They must have. But it's still that. It was still that last night. Was 8.5.
Yeah.
So I'll take that 8.5 all day. I'll take my money to the bank. What about you've brought this up several times in talking about this Super Bowl matchup? Is Mahomes' rushing attempts?
Mm-hmm. He's a backbreaker.
What's a good number for you?
For me, for Mahomes' rushing attempts?
Yeah. Before I tell you what the actual number's set at.
Super Bowl, big game, last game of the year. He'll do anything to win. I would put Mahomes' rushing attempts. I want to induce action. It's not a 50-50.
No, I just want to know how many you think he will do.
He will have 6 rushing attempts minimum.
The number is 5.5. So that's a good number.
Let's go.
That's a good number. Because you said about 4 that'll be 3 or 4 that'll be backbreakers.
Yep.
And so you're thinking another 2 that are less consequential.
Yeah. History shows
he will have 3 or 4 that will kill you.
Yeah, that will absolutely.
I'm well aware. Had a couple last year against
kill your spirits.
A little 49ers
and
team.
Typically the later on in the game that is when he'll do it.
Really bummed me out.
Yeah.
I'm still blame Dre Greenlaw snapping his Achilles in half running onto the field.
Guess why you got to like guys like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Zach Bond. You have very, very, very athletic linebackers.
Versatile linebackers.
Yes.
So I like the over on both of those.
I would tell you you're probably right.
I feel good about the over on both the rushing attempts. Okay, so we'll stay with Mahomes and Hurts here for a second. Both of them are at 1.5 passing touchdowns.
It's extremely low.
I think so too.
It's extremely low.
So if that's the number, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the under is in play here.
Yeah, the under's hear my heart now. The under's definitely in play.
I was also surprised that Mahomes and Hurts's were the same number.
And what have I been telling you about Kareem Hunt?
Oh, Kareem Hunt's a wild one. You want me to look up some of his?
The Chiefs want to control the ball.
Yes.
They know guys like Najee Johnson play defense.
100%.
Right? He's vulnerable back there. You may be able to isolate Justin Reed in some packages. Like, as good as the Chiefs are defensively, I do think listen, man, control the rock. Control the ball.
I actually think it's more likely, ironically enough, the way a lot of people have talked about this Super Bowl, I think it's more likely that the Chiefs control the ball than it is the Eagles.
I am 1,000% with you. And what's my rationale?
Because Saquon's an explosive play guy.
He's not a ball control guy.
He's not a 4, 5, 6 yards guy.
He's not.
He's a 40, 50, 60 yards guy.
You have to introduce Hurts and the ground game, which is why I like his rushing
totals. I think the rushing attempts over that's probably.
Well, I mean, pencil in 3 push, brotherly
3
shoves.
Yeah, 3 tush pushes. To me, 8.5 is the best play on the board. Rushing attempts.
I don't know.
Of the ones I looked at, that's the one I feel.
Give me some Kareem Hunt numbers.
Okay, so Kareem Hunt, we're looking at, I don't want to do rushing plus receiving yards. Rushing yards odds for Kareem Hunt. You ready? Where would you put that number?
For rushing total?
For rushing total yards for Kareem Hunt. On rushing only, not passing, just rushing.
Pacheco's going to play. I would say 61.5.
So you're going to take the over. Because the number's at 42.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
To heck with ball control.
Apparently.
That is absurdly low.
You ready for the next one, Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Rushing attempts. What would you put that number at?
Well, if it's 42.5, then the rushing attempts have to be 8?
10.5. So you want to hammer the over on both of those, don't you?
I don't know about hammer, but yeah, I like them. I think Kareem Hunt has the ability to be the unstatistically sung hero.
Here's the one you're going to like on Kareem Hunt the most, I think. Rushing touchdowns.
Anytime or rushing?
Just rushing touchdowns.
0.5.
It's at 0.5. So if he scores it all, you win.
Is it plus or minus?
It's plus 145 to go over.
Yeah, I like that.
You get plus money for him to score any touchdown, any rushing touchdown.
I like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good.
I would take that for sure.
That's really good.
Longest rush odds. So longest single rush. That's probably, you got to figure that's going to be Barkley, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that number is?
The longest rush?
Longest single rushing attempt.
22 and a hook.
Ooh, you're very close. 23 in the hook.
That's incredible.
That's really good.
Let's go, DB.
I probably would have gone a little higher. Because he's explosive. I probably would have gone a little higher.
Shoot, you know who may have it?
Who?
Mahomes.
Mahomes is second, which is fun. I'm surprised he's above Hurts.
I'm not.
What do you think?
Do you not watch these games? He's going for 13 plus on one run for sure.
It's funny you say that.
Why?
The number's 12.5.
Listen. Dude, these people watch television.
I'm aware. It's their job. They're on it.
Guaranteed to rip off a 13-plus yard run.
Yep.
And you're like, it was 3rd and 16, and you give up a scramble to Mahomes. I can hear it now. He does it every year.
I'm not going to say that. I'm still traumatized from last year. I'm aware.
The dude he's ridiculous.
All right. Pick for the game.
I'm taking the Eagles.
Really?
Yep.
You talked yourself back into it?
I liked them all along, and I gave Mahomes the nod. It worked for me getting off of Buffalo to take Mahomes. It's going to work for me this time, getting off Mahomes and going Philly.
I'm going to take the quarterback and the head coach. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs.
You're traumatized.
I am. I've seen it too many times.
Low scoring, man.
I'm taking a three-peat. Give me the best quarterback. Give me the best head coach. I'm winning the game.
All right.
That's it. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. We'll have Matt Vrzal to wrap up the week next. Wrapping up the show, wrapping up the week here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, joined now by our Friday friend, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. What's up, Verz? What are you laughing about?
What is he laughing about?
I can make jokes right now, but they're probably like only jokes when you transition over to the internet. I don't think I can say this on 590, but.
Well, hey, just wait a couple of weeks. You can say whatever you want, Verz.
Hey, you're part
of. I know this that's going to be great.
Yeah. You're part of the reason, man.
We got Verz Unfiltered coming up.
Too many calls from the SEC. Although some of these guys that like,
I think it's the FCC. The SEC is a different deal.
No, FCC. A lot of these guys. Well, not a lot. One of these guys in particular was running his mouth about it having to do with ratings, and I'm like, first of all, stop talking about things you don't know. Second of all, do you want to look at digital numbers as opposed to counting on somebody getting like something in the mail to fill out? Like, relax, buddy, if you don't know. But I'll tell him that when I see him.
Lions and sheep, my man. Lions
Hey,
and sheep.
hey, you know what? That's a great point.
You're like the
Because
Kansas City Chiefs
every
of
day
radio.
every day I do want to send like 2.2K to like whatever the other number is, but I was like, you know what? I'm chill.
They don't hate people that are doing bad. Right?
Hey, Jalen Hurts said something the other day that I wanted to coin as a T-shirt. He said, I had a calling to do this before you guys had an opinion. I just play ball. I was like, ooh. Okay.
That's pretty good. That's bars right there.
Okay, Jalen.
I thought you were going to do the
Eagles by 1.
I thought you were going to do the, is there any extra pressure? No, ma'am. I thought that was maybe yours.
Hey, by the way, man, that hug before I pulled out of the church the other day was awesome. I started to drive through the grass about that very moment you came over. I was so impatient.
Yeah, the guy ahead of you wasn't helping the situation.
He wouldn't pick up his phone. My man was in there like I don't know what he was doing. I called him 15 times. I'm like, and the truck is like the size of this building.
Just like you not answering my phone calls or returning them, I just know that's going to happen. The person that was driving that car, you just had to know that was going to happen. Like you like no sense to get worked up about it. Like I went to the car behind you, and Big 8 was in there, and he was cool as a cucumber.
Hey, my man went for a stroll. He just was walking. I said, okay.
He was hugging and high-fiving, and he damn near ran lady over.
Man, listen.
And then blamed her.
I was miserable. I was like, man.
Not Clinton, the other car.
Oh, I know. I could see it was he was only 2 behind me. I could see it. I could see it. But
why you got Dion up there? I thought you didn't like Dion.
I love Dion. Ravi doesn't like Dion.
I don't like Dion. He's in charge of the faces.
Verz, it's in case you haven't noticed, it's February. What do you think I'm doing?
Those are your Valentine.
Well played.
You should have. How come you don't have a rule up there? You probably your Valentine too.
Wow.
He had him early. You've got a rule face, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
He's been up there before. He's been rocking John Cook lately, though. Okay.
You could drop 2 tickets to the spring game in rule.
This dude's got jokes. I don't know if you heard this verse, but we're not doing the spring game thing.
Oh my goodness. What? Wow. Is that really the reason that they're scared that people are going to see their guys and don't try to take them?
Man, I plead the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it.
Play games on TV, right?
Yeah. I say you just don't televise it.
I was gonna say it'd be really easy just to have the game not put it on TV, right, Verse? Like that's not that hard.
I'd say, or you continue to build depth and make a culture that nobody wants to leave.
That's also an option.
I'd go at it.
If you want to do it the hard way, Verse, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing a great job of it. I would want my product on display because guess what? Just as much as you think somebody might want to come take, somebody might also want to come participate.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That always has been a really good recruiting weekend for them as well.
Well, they'll be doing something. That's for sure.
Look at Verge just flipping the script on putting the game on TV. I like it.
He's thought about this.
I'm very hireable. All I got to do is call. I've got a huge brain that sometimes works.
That's extremely accurate in every sense.
I'm getting tired of applying for jobs up there, and then I get rejection letters. Mind your business, old head.
Hey, let me ask. What's the plans for the Super Bowl over there at 156?
Head down and work.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good folks that are used to it now. It's a fun thing for me because we resort back to a system that we started in the little carryout place with my guys, Boston and McMines and Botkin and Nelson. So it makes me smile. But we've found a way that works for us to just handle the mass quantities. So we'll be hunkered down, and if you want to call in early. Your boy RP called in last night. We've got orders stacking up, but it's a good one because it's busy, But it isn't a stressful busy because there's not a lot of traffic for people sitting down to eat. There'll be guys come in and get a couple beers while they're waiting. But the boys in the back, they have everything kind of lined out what they need to make. The girls up front who do an awesome job on their wings, they have stuff lined out, and they're already kind of, it's pretty cool. They're already kind of coming up like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And I'm like, hey, take the baton and run, ladies. Just don't screw it up.
Hey, Maddie, let me ask you something. So I guess you have to prepare ahead, right? Because you know you're going to get like an inordinate amount of like whatever. Let's say wings, right? Like everybody wants wings on Super Bowl Sunday. You plan on carrying the inventory ahead of time, or you just have it run out or not run out? Like shoot your shot this week and then have to go restock.
No, it's one thing I think like statistics will help you. You have historical data you can use, and then you plug that in so you have a rough estimate. So I usually add about 20% to that because even if we don't sell them that day, we'll sell them the next couple days. So, yeah, you never want to, especially as early as our orders come in. You know, we started getting orders on Monday and Tuesday.
Dude, I'm surprised RP called in already.
I'm surprised he called in that late.
You know,
you think that's late for him?
He's like, what's the latest I can get this? I'm like, just call now. Why put it up to chance? Just call.
Maybe he thinks you'll forget.
I don't forget nothing. The computer's got to remember. I don't have to remember nothing. All I got to do is remember not to burn my arm.
Hey, you joke. My wife's a chef. That happens way more than people realize.
Oh, is that is that what those marks are? I thought that was something else.
You got a new oven guy. He got branded the other day. He didn't know what to do. Awesome.
Wow. You like low-key cheering?
Part of the ship.
My wife would rather catch a hot pan with her bare arm than drop whatever's on that pan.
Yeah, that's not good.
She's about that life.
Now I can kind of relate. I've turned meat on the grill with my fingers.
Yeah.
Because I felt like if I went to go get something,
it'd be on too long.
Yeah, and I paid the price. I got it.
So you got grandma hands. Like you cook long enough, you get grandma hands where they don't feel heat.
The calluses and all
You watch your grandma cook. She just reach in and grab a casserole dish and set on the counter. No mitts or nothing.
Hey, how you think this thing plays out on Sunday? You going with consistency? Like what? Hard to go against Mahomes? What are you thinking?
I'm going with physical. I think it's gonna be a hell of a game, and you know we've been through it, DB. You know, I mean, people hate who's on top. It's natural. They find reasons except your performance on why you succeed.
Yeah.
Right. Chiefs are awesome. They do their thing. They just, however you want to get down, they'll get down. I like Philly because it takes it back to physicality and running the ball, and Carter is a lot. You know, he's the hell of a D lineman, and I think it's going to be a great game. I got my futures, so I had 5 futures, and so I've got two in the finals. So financially, it will do me better if the Eagles win. I'll still net positive if the Chiefs win. So then, you know, the system I have is on. I'll throw a couple props down. My girl Maggie will start flipping the coin on Sunday morning, so she'll tell me the coin toss. She's put 22 out of 24. So we'll be good there.
Wait a minute. At what time is this statistical data gonna start?
She'll probably text me around noon. She'll flip it. Yeah, she only flips it 10 times.
That's incredible.
Then pushes. So if it goes 5 and 5, then she flips it 10 more. I like Eagles' first play from scrimmage pass over 20 yards.
Ooh, kind of
play action pass. If it's me and they're going to load the box, I play action pass. I'll even say, well, none run. They're going to play band free.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm going to look at A.J. Brown. That safety's going to creep over there. And I'm going to hit Devonta Smith on a post for about 35 yards and hope that little skinny sucker gets past that and runs for a tutty.
Yeah, so
the other one I like.
Devontae Smith and Goddard for receivers are kind of my X factor in this game.
Cool.
I think
you gotta play in man. You run out of people in the numbers game, so you got to play in man. He's like a fart in a skillet. I mean, he's good. The other one I like is
What is
The other one I like is fourth down. So either team, then this one I got from my buddy Bill Hayes. The fourth down attempt in your own side of the field. So your own.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
So minus 50. That's plus 400.
Oh, I'd take that all day.
Right.
Dude, aren't the Eagles playing? When don't they go for
Also,
it?
what does a fart in a skillet mean, Verz? What does that mean?
My grandpa used to say that. It's just a saying.
Man. Okay.
Verz, we appreciate it as
He
always.
didn't have one of those fancy jackets like you got, though.
Looks good. I like it. We'll see you later,
It makes me
Verz.
question, is this bad? Can I ask, like, which side of no, I better not. I'll pass.
I've been married to 2 women, Verz. That's all I need to say.
I
not
didn't say they dressed you.
Not-
You're obviously making bold choice.
not simultaneously, thankfully. Verz,
Is that like from New Mexico?
no, I got this in. I think I got it here.
Not Mexico, New Mexico?
Listen, Damon,
What?
current political climate, you need to focus on New Mexico.
Sorry. Good point.
I need your shenanigans. Betting.
We're gonna have a new Greenland here pretty soon too. Have
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You know how many minerals they have up there?
This dude.
Verz, big mineral guy.
Walls up there. There's a whole other world. Narnia or something. I don't know.
I feel like you would go retire there. You just like live off the grid.
That seems like a lot of work.
Fair.
I've been like my TikTok kind of full of that right now. There's a lot of stuff going on that you got to do every day. I'm like, well,
That's why I'm not an off the grid guy. Verz, it's too much.
Right.
Too much work.
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's an off the grid delivery service. Then I was thinking,
They have an off the grid DoorDash.
right.
Wow.
That's our guy,
Good work.
Verz. We appreciate the time. We'll see you next week. That's Hurrdat Sports Radio.